Atlanta's Turner Field and October baseball. They have become synonymous. Today, two teams which have overcome many obstacles to get here now must overcome each other. Bobby Cox and the Braves endured the loss of their slugging catcher and the heart of their lineup, yet still finished with the major's best record. The Astros, despite a lineup stricken by injury, including Moises Alou for the year, plus many other key players, and the stunning temporary loss of their manager, have persevered. Jeff Bagwell and the Astros have won their third straight National League Central title. Chipper Jones and the Braves have won their 8th consecutive division title. Today they collide with bigger, more elusive goals in mind. And welcome to Turner Field. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe. Joe Morgan is... who knows? Now, we're excited to be here today because we got heavyweight matchups all through these divisional series, the American League and the National League, and it all gets started right here. The Atlanta Braves, the best record in the majors, 103 wins. They finished the year in a red-hot streak led by Chipper Jones, their MVP candidate, and their pitching is set up for this series very nicely. The Astros, they had to work right up to the last day, so their pitching is a bit in a state of disarray. Now, today, Greg Maddux goes for the Braves, and he has just shut down the Astros, including their big hitters. What's the key for the Astros to beat Maddux today, Rick?
I think it all starts with their leadoff hitter, Craig Biggio. His intensity is something that you have to respect, but it's something that has gone against him in postseason. He's got to get on base somehow. Bagwell, Carl Everett, Ken Caminiti, they can hit with runners in scoring position. It's got to be Biggio on base. And to do that against Maddux, he's got to get on top of home plate. He's got to take the inside part of the plate away with his elbow, and he's got to look for something on the outer part of the plate to hit with his bat.
All right, so we're going to line on that right away. Biggio will be leading off as usual against Maddux today. Now, Shane Reynolds, ordinarily a very tough right-hander. He won 16 games this year, but he faltered down the stretch. Today, he's got to somehow regain that former strength on only 3 days of rest as he's up against Chipper Jones and the Braves.
Well, John, Houston won't admit it, but they're concerned about that. He's got to come back on 3 days rest. He's 2-7 in his last 11 starts. He could use an extra day's rest, not coming back that much sooner. And as you said, Chipper Jones is the key. He cannot make the same mistakes the New York Mets made by pitching to Chipper Jones. You don't pitch to Chipper, though, you better know how to get Brian Jordan and Ryan Klesko out.
All right, so everything seems to favor the Braves. On the other hand, what if the Astros win today? They've got two 20-game winners laying in wait for the Braves. So we'll see. Perfect day for baseball. We're about to begin.
ESPN's coverage of the divisional playoffs is brought to you by the new Lincoln LS. Lincoln, American luxury.
The Braves are in their tomahawk chopping mood at the moment, awaiting the arrival of the Eastern Division champion Braves on the field. And one thing we have sensed here in this first round of playoffs, the last couple of years with these Braves fans, it's almost, Rick, as though they are jaded by the Braves' great success here in the 90s, the most successful team in all of the majors in the 90s. As if they just figure, well, this is just the first round. These games are not all that interesting yet. And I guess you could hardly get more jaded than that. This is not a sellout at Turner Field, and not a sellout by quite a few thousand tickets. So it'll be interesting to see if the Astros, in effect, can get the Braves fans into this game.
Well, I'm trying to figure out where everybody's at myself right now, John. I guess with Greg Maddux on the mound going for what would be his 20th win of the year, they figure it's guarantee win day. But the Houston Astros, for some reason, this morning came off to me as a different ball club than the club I saw last year against the San Diego Padres. They're a lot more confident. They don't feel like it has to be Bagwell and Biggio this year for them to win this ball game. They feel like there's some other people to pull on that rope along with the Killer Bees.
Ken Caminiti is back, and he has had a hot bat. In fact, he's in much better shape this October than last October when he was with the San Diego Padres. Larry Dierker, the Astros manager, has brought his club to the postseason for the third consecutive year. And here is the Pepsi batting order now for the Astros. Craig Biggio leads off inside second base. Bill Spires, right field. Jeff Bagwell, top MVP candidate. What a year he had at first base. Carl Everett, who really blossomed this year, his best year. He's a switch-hitting center fielder. Then Ken Caminiti. And in the last 32 games, 34 runs batted in. He hit a spectacular home run in their clincher on Sunday at the Astrodome. Darrell Ward, and we'll talk more about him later, but this guy is the real package, one of the top young prospects in the game. Tony Eusebio, the catcher, Ricky Gutierrez, the shortstop, and Shane Reynolds, the pitcher. He is batting ninth. On the mound, the perennial winner, a 4-time Cy Young winner, and he has been here so many times. One of the great pitchers of his time, maybe the best, Greg Maddux.
You know, he doesn't take anything for granted either. Talking with him yesterday, he feels like this is his first playoff game. The excitement is there, the intensity's there. He said, if it ever leaves me, he said, I'm going to get out of the game.
Well, Maddux, who lost his final game last Wednesday to the Mets, finished up one game away from that 20-win plateau.
Andrew Jones out there in center field is the first thing that jumps out at you. Greg Maddux says that on a daily basis, he saves their ball club 1 run defensively. On a good day, he'll save them 3.
So here we go in the long shadows of October. And it's a called strike to Craig Biggio. This is really a great day to be a pitcher in this ballpark. A great time of day as Craig Biggio and the Braves' Ryan Klesko both were talking before the game. You just can't see the ball.
You've got to score early right now. You can see that shadow just creeping over the batter's box.
Into right field, drifting over, Brian Jordan. And that was one away. On the other hand, we wanted to kind of focus on Biggio to see his approach in this first at bat against Maddux. Was that a good sign that he went the other way with it?
Well, I think it is. I think he's got to look for something on the outer half of the plate to hit. Maddux, 90% of the time, he's going to stay away from you. Biggio, with that armor that he has on his left elbow, can simply just not move. Look at that. He looks like Sir Lancelot there on the left side. That's really important for Biggio. You take the inner half of the plate away with that elbow. Look for something away to drive. He just didn't get enough of it in that at bat.
Now Bill Spires, and that is too low. 1 ball and no strikes. As you watch Maddux work here, you'll notice the ball always just seems to be moving. Bill Spires at .288 average for the year. And that is right there. 1 ball, 1 strike. And the shadows being cast by the upper deck at Turner Field. The autumnal shadows of October covering the home plate area, and they'll be moving out toward the mound as we proceed. From the sunshine into the shadows, too low. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Maddux has always been one of the quickest workers in all of baseball, but you'd think right now he'd slow the pace down a little bit, because that shadow, the further out it gets, the more difficult it's going to get to hit. But he's still working quick.
Half swing and a foul by Bill Spires. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Spires in there instead of Derek Bell today, with the right-hander going. As we take a look at the shadows you're talking about.
John, I talked with Larry Dierker before the game about Derek Bell not being in the lineup, and he said he's just simply not having a good year.
That was close. Maddux thought he had him on the outside. Derek Bell, who's looking on today.
No question about it. In years past, this was always strike 3. Greg Maddux thought that it was right there. The key to getting those pitches, though, for Maddux is Perez. Tremendous hand.
Now the ball to first. Ryan Klesko retires Bill Spires. So 2 men are gone for the Astros, and now Jeff Bagwell will come up. Well, the Astros 2 years ago got here for the first time with this current group. Larry Dierker's first year as manager, but they won a weak Central Division. They only won 84 games, and they appeared to be overmatched, and in fact they were overmatched. Last year they came in on a roll with Randy Johnson, and many thought they were the best team in the league, but they ran into the buzzsaw named Kevin Brown. He struck out 16 of them in the first game of the division series at the Astrodome, got the best of Randy Johnson, and then the Padres won that series. So they've had an early exit 2 straight years. Jeff Bagwell, 42 homers, 126 RBIs. But again, as you pointed out, Rick, in the open of the telecast, a key today, Biggio. It's one thing pitching to Bagwell when you've got 2 down and nobody on, and quite another when you've got men on base.
And what happens is Bagwell tries to take the team on his shoulders here and put a run up on the board with a homer.
Comes in with that fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1997, the Braves just shut down the big hitters. Biggio, 083. Bell never got a hit. Bagwell, the same, 083. The team only hit 208 in that 3 games. 1-2 the count. And he bounces one in there. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Bagwell was telling me before the game, too, that he needs to be more patient at home plate in situations like this. Take the base on balls, because the 2 guys coming up behind him can be productive. They got some thunder in their bats. Everett with a big year himself. 325, 25 homers, 100 RBIs.
On the outside corner, got him looking. Mike Winters, the plate umpire, rings him up. So Maddux masters them in the first. Now Reynolds will take the hill. The Braves coming to bat now. And here's a look at the Pepsi Braves batting order. It'll be Gerald Williams in left field and Brett Boone at second base, both with power, but lacking when it gets to just trying to get on base in front of the big guys. Chipper Jones, who had impeccable September MVP credentials, as in particular down the stretch, he just ruined the Mets in that first 3-game series that plunged the Mets into their 7-game losing streak. Then Brian Klesko at first base, Brian Jordan right field, Andrew Jones center field, Eddie Perez the catcher, Jose Hernandez the former Cub at shortstop, and Greg Maddux the pitcher is batting 9th. And on the mound for the Astros, right-hander Shane Reynolds, who's had fair success against the Braves in the past, but not much success against anybody in September this year.
Well, for me, John, if the Astros are going to have any chance at all, he has got to step up today and give them at least 6 good innings. Keep them in the ball game, possibly get the lead to that bullpen, and in particular, Billy Wagner, who has been perfect all year long with a lead after 8 innings.
16 wins, 14 losses for the year. Gerald Williams, who is a very aggressive hitter, hits the first pitch foul. Williams, 17 homers, 68 runs batted in, but his on-base average is only .335, which is very, very low for a leadoff man. Brett Boone is on deck. No score as we are getting started. Last of the first in Atlanta. On the outside corner, beautiful pitch at the knees. 0-2. There's Bobby Cox. He has guided the Braves to 100 victories for 3 consecutive years. He is only the 3rd manager in this century to do that. That ball just fouled at the plate by Williams. The only other 2 managers who had 3 consecutive 100 victory seasons, Connie Mack, 29, 30, 31, and Earl Weaver of the Orioles, 69, 70, 71, and both of them in the Hall of Fame.
Well, the Atlanta Braves players will tell you that if Bobby Cox is not the manager of the year this year in the National League, there shouldn't be an award. This has been a hard-earned division title for them, unlike the ones in the past.
Yeah, they ended up winning it by 6.5 games over the Mets, which makes it look deceptively easy. They had 103 wins, but on the other hand, as Chipper Jones is in the hole, he'll be up 3rd in the inning. On the other hand, they were only 1 game ahead of the Mets when they had that fateful series against them here with about a week and a half to go in the season. And from that point on, they were unstoppable. They just clobbered the Mets. And they thought, as Walt Weiss said before the game today, when they left New York last Thursday, having beaten the Mets again, they won 5 out of 6 for New York. They thought they had seen the last of the Mets. They were stunned that it's the Mets and not the Reds who won the wild card. Well, Williams hanging tough in there as Reynolds has been unable to put him away. Still 0-2.
Still hard to believe that the Cincinnati Reds went to Milwaukee and were not able to play better in that series. They basically gave that wild card back to the New York Mets when they went to Milwaukee and struggled.
0-2 to Gerald Williams. In the dirt.
Chipper Jones was the guy that went to Bobby Cox back in late June and said, hey, I like Gerald Williams in that leadoff position. He'll battle up there. His on-base percentage, not what you'd like it to be, but he's getting his money's worth in this at bat.
And he's got a base hit. So here come the Braves.
Defensively for the Houston Astros, Darrell Ward out there in left field is a big question mark. He's an everyday first baseman that's been asked to play the outfield. He's lost a lot of weight. Carl Everett out there along with him is going to be expected to cover a lot of that outfield. You got an infielder and Billy Spires on the other side of their center fielder.
That's Darrell Ward out in left field, the son of Gary Ward, longtime major leaguer, excellent big league hitter. Boone to shortstop. The second one. Biggio to first. Double play. So just like that, after an 8-pitch battle from Gerald Williams and then a single, Brett Boone, first ball swinging, hits into the 6-4-3 double play.
Hard for me to believe right there that Boone would swing at that pitch. If you get the one you're looking for, yeah, go ahead and take a rip at it. That obviously not what Boone wanted to see. He was trying to extend on something away. Reynolds ran the ball back in on him, and now the perfect situation for Shane Reynolds. Chipper Jones up there, nobody on, and you can be careful with him. I wouldn't be surprised to see Reynolds try to move him off home plate at some point in this at bat.
And he starts him away with a sinker. 1 ball and no strikes. Chipper Jones really established his MVP credentials in that first 3-game series with the Mets a couple of weeks ago. 4 home runs in those 3 games. And that's too low. 2 balls and no strikes. And all 4 of them put the Braves ahead in games. Not just that he hit the home runs, which was impressive enough, but when he hit them, each one a big one. And he's too low. Well, I think he's taking your advice here, Rick.
Well, I would like, you've got to pitch to him at some point during this series. There's going to be people on base. And to pitch to him, you want to be able to get him out of the way. To pitch him away, you got to keep him honest in. And Reynolds has not done that.
Chip is swinging away and swinging deep into left, but playable for Ward. Now moving quickly over to his right, and he makes the catch on the edge of the shadows. Chipper Jones retired. 3 up, 3 down. Everett, Caminetti, and Ward coming up for Houston. Astros nothing, Braves nothing. There's a guy who is well stocked in foam tomahawks. As a swing and a miss. Maddux throwing a, what's that, a cutter or a slider up and in?
Good little cut fastball up and in on the hands of Everett. He's right on top of home plate.
I mean, if we really had the drawing of that inside line of the batter's box, he's probably out of the batter's box.
And you take a look, there's times that he'll put that right knee on the inside corner with his stride.
There's a bunt. Perez going to have to hurry. He is much too late. A base hit for Carl Everett. There's a little bit of a different wrinkle. Caught him by surprise. Everett coming back from an incredible year. Even though he had injury problems, he drove in 108 runs with a .325 average.
Well, they liked his ability when he was with the New York Mets. It was him as a person that they weren't real sure about. And Jeff Bagwell tells me that he's been just the opposite since he got to Houston. He's been the type of person that they wanted. He's obviously done a lot of things as a player. And right there, he just took advantage of Eddie Perez. Eddie Perez has tendonitis in both of his knees. Going to have surgery on the left knee at the end of the year. He just can't move.
Ken Caminetti. Now, Caminetti missed much of this season because of injury, but he is very strong and very healthy right now, hitting .286 overall. But down the stretch, as we showed when we gave you the batting order, he became the big RBI man. 34 RBIs in the last 32 games. And back to first, Carl Everett. Now, Everett is also a guy who can steal a base. He has 27 steals this year. And this is a multivariate attack from the Astros. They've got some power, but they also have a lot of speed. Biggio, Bagwell, and Everett can all steal a base. And the count, 2 balls and no strikes to Caminetti.
Well, it's a perfect running situation right here. If Maddux were to throw a fastball, you would imagine it would be in the strike zone. Very seldom does he walk anybody. So if it's a fastball that's in the zone, Caminetti's going to take a swing at it. He'll probably put that in play. If it's a changeup, that's the pitch that Carl Everett wants to run on. It's the more difficult pitch for Perez to get a good throw off with. But what happened in the division series last year against San Diego, Houston, when they did get on base, they looked like they were afraid to run.
That one moving off the outside. It's 3-0 to Caminetti, who Broke into the big leagues all the way back in 1987 with the Astros. And he has faced Greg Maddux many a time over the years. He's had 84 career at-bats against Maddux and has a .286 career average against him. There goes Everett. And it was ball 4. You don't see that very often, a guy taking off in 3-0.
I don't really know why he wasn't trying to run on 2-0. Maybe it's just the fact he knew Maddux wasn't going to pay any attention to him. All of Maddux's focus was on trying to throw a strike to Caminiti, and that'll distract you sometimes as a pitcher, because when the runner breaks, the first baseman yells, "There he goes." In a lot of situations, you're ready for that as a pitcher, and it doesn't affect you physically. That might have thrown Maddux off just a little bit, and the reason he threw ball 4.
Now here is Darrell Ward, the impressive rookie. Tommy McCraw, the veteran hitting instructor for the Astros, it was just effusive in his praise of Darrell Ward. I mean, he said this guy is the real package, and he knows how to play. Coming up in a baseball family, he grew up around the game, his dad being a former major leaguer. And that is too low, and he had the big hit in the clinching game on Sunday, a bases clearing double into the alleyway at the Astrodome. He's big and strong, and what Tom McCraw likes about him is that he files things away and builds a very quick book on pitchers. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 on, nobody out. And Maddux is in trouble, and we're seeing a very patient look from the Astros here in this inning.
And when I talked to Jeff Bagwell about Darrell Ward as a hitter, the first thing he says to me is he's quiet. Real short stride, real compact, a lot like Tony Gwynn, yet Darrell Ward's the type of guy that's going to hit 30-40 home runs a year.
On the outside, 2 balls and a strike.
You look at Jeff Bagwell's numbers, hit over 300, 42 homers, 126 RBIs, and he says when he comes to camp next year, he wants his stance to look more like that of Darrell Ward. That's how much respect they have for this guy as a hitter.
2-1 the count. Everett at second, Caminiti at first. Along the left field line, slicing back and just into the first row of the seats with Williams, the left fielder, Chipper Jones, the third baseman, giving chase. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Darrell Ward, only 24 years of age. Greg Maddux, second in the league in walks per 9 innings allowed, second best. But the Astros have been very patient with him so far, and he's been out of the strike zone quite often. 2-2. Pulled foul on the first base side. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ward was with the Detroit Tigers and was part of a huge deal between these 2 ball clubs in June of 1994.
Take a look at the grip right there. It's a little cut fastball that he ran in on to begin with. This is a 2-seamer that's going to come back. And look at Ward. You see a lot of left-handers that'll give right there. They'll jump back off of that pitch that starts out at him. Ward was all over it.
And he got him on one in the dirt. Classic Greg Maddux.
Well, he held that discipline all up until that point right there. He looked good on the cut fastball in. He looked good on the 2-seam fastball. This is the changeup. This is what Jeff Bagwell was talking about before. The exact same rotation as that of Maddux's fastball. The only problem is it's normally about 10 to 12 miles an hour slower. You find yourself out in front of it, as Darrell Ward did there.
So a big out. Still 2 men on, but now with 1 out. Here's the catcher, Tony Eusebio. Just as you said, when Maddux throws it, it almost always works. Runners again don't go. The ball is lined into center field, a base hit. Everett will come around to score. Caminiti stops at second, and the Houston Astros have taken a 1-0 lead on the clutch base hit by Tony Eusebio.
Well, it was a 3-2 changeup to Eusebio that he was just able to get a piece of and foul off. Greg Maddux says, all right, the hitter may make an adjustment. He's going to stay back a little bit. That's not what happened. Eusebio's still looking for the fastball. See Perez sitting in right there. It was a fastball, but when your catcher's sitting in and he reaches back across the heart of the plate, that's a mislocation on the part of Maddux and the reason for the lead with the Houston Astros.
Now Ricky Gutierrez. The Astros have a run on the board. Too low, and again, batter after batter taking that pitch that dips down out of the strike zone as they have started to create this inning.
Well, I think what really created was the bunt base hit on Everett that put Greg Maddux in the stretch. He's more comfortable out of the windup.
Again, dipping low. 2-0. So Everett, the cleanup hitter, did something very unlike a cleanup hitter. I don't see Big Mac doing that too often. He bunted, and it worked and started this rally.
Well, Big Mac hits third, though, so
that's true. If he hit cleanup, he'd bunt more.
He'd be a bunter.
It is 3-0 to Gutierrez. The pitcher, Shane Reynolds, on deck.
And I'd like to see the look on the third baseman's face as the manager told him to move in because Big Mac might bunt. No, I'm sorry.
Won't happen. 3-0 the count now to Gutierrez. Look out. That almost hit him. Ball 4. Either way, he's to first base. And Caminetti to third, Eusebio to second. The bases are loaded.
There might have been a little bit of purpose behind this pitch right here. Greg Maddux just glaring in at the home plate umpire, Mike Winters. The count was 3-0. Maddux might be saying, if you're not going to call what I think is a strike, rather than put another base on balls up there against my total, I'll just hit him.
Well, Maddux has walked 2 in the inning. He has thrown 25 pitches in this inning. 11 strikes. Shane Reynolds, who's a pretty good hitter. That is called a strike. Shane Reynolds with 14 RBIs, the most in the majors. He had 11 hits, but 2 doubles, a homer, and 14 batted in. So he's a threat. Bases loaded. 1 run in right now. The Astros thinking of more. Biggio is on deck. And starting down the line is Everett. And they got him. Did he get him? Yeah, he did. Skipper Jones ended up in a foot race with, I say, Everett, Caminetti. And they get it. The other runners move up.
Right there is where the advanced scout of the Atlanta Braves is going to have a job for the next couple of years. They must have picked up the sign either coming from Larry Dierker to the third base coach, from the third base coach to the pitcher at home plate, or they could have picked up the answer. When the third base coach, Mike Cubbage, puts on the suicide squeeze, the hitter has to give him an answer. Whatever Reynolds did right there set off something in the Atlanta Brave dugout. They pitched out and picked up the big second out.
And strike 2, 1 ball, 2 strikes. So the busted suicide squeeze, and the Atlanta Braves with a bit of intelligence from their scouts. The curveball, he threw his bat at it. Over to first is Hernandez for the out. And what could have been a disaster for Greg Maddux and the Braves ends up with just the 1-run scoring. Plesko, Jordan, and Andrew Jones coming up. 1-0, the Astros ahead, but it could have been so much more. But with the pitcher up there, the suicide squeeze was put on, and the Braves saw it coming.
Well, you know where the suicide squeeze sign comes from. It comes from manager Bobby Cox. It was on right there. Caminetti right there at that point wanted to get back to third base, but when he went down, he had to put his left arm down. He knew he was caught in no man's land. They have tried to get him healthy all year, in particular from the waist down with his legs, his knees. That's the last thing Larry Dierker wanted to see, was his third baseman caught in a rundown right there. Look at the stopping, the going, look at the knees, look at what happened. The hamstring gets tight right there. Right now he's just hoping that Ken Caminetti is not only going to be able to finish this game, but be healthy for the rest of the series. John, just to finish that thought, the reason the hitter at home plate has to put on a sign and answer to let the third base coach know that he got the suicide squeeze. You don't want that guy coming down the line and your hitter taking a full swing. That's why you give the answer. Shane Reynolds has just got to be a little bit better actor the next time he gives the answer.
Brian Klesko, and that's ball one. Very powerful left-handed hitter. Last year, he broke open the first game of the division series when the Chicago Cubs were here with a big home run. Shane Reynolds off the outside, 2 balls and no strikes. By the way, back in August, when the Astros were here the last time, it was Maddux up against Jose Lima, and the Braves won the ball game. That's too low. 3-0 now to Klesko. Brian Jordan on deck. In that game, there was not a suicide squeeze, apparently, but or either there wasn't or there was. Anyway, Carl Everett took off from third base, and the batter let the pitch go, and Everett ended up same way out there in no man's land and tagged out. So history repeats itself here for the Astros. That's 2 busted suicide squeezes in this ballpark this year. Three and 2 the count. Toward the middle, Biggio, long throw, and he's just in time. Klesko hustling up the line, made it very close. We mentioned Greg Maddux with his great control, second in the league. Shane Reynolds is number 1 in the league for control.
Take a look at Klesko right there. You're looking at a guy that used to come out of his shoes with every swing. That's just one of the influences of Don Baylor on that club. Don Baylor says you got to cut down on your strikeouts. You got to put the ball in play more often. And because of that, his average went way up, and yet his power numbers not really affected.
Brian Jordan, ball 1. Jordan, who's got problems with his right hand and his right wrist. And at one point, it was getting so bad, he'd had numerous cortisone shots that his swing was getting worse and worse. He said it was as much mental as physical because he feared the pain. And he stopped really having that regular Brian Jordan swing, was not hitting with any power. His average was plummeting. He was not driving any runs in. And at one point, it looked like he was just going to be shut down for the year. Then his personal trainer, Bob Kersey, you may recognize that name, Jackie Joyner Kersey, and Bob Kersey started working on the hand. He comes in before games, does some work with the hand, and the power has started to come back. The swing has started to come back, and he said it has made him be able to forget about the pain in the hand, and he's got his old swing back. 2-2 the count. I said, well, what is it that Kersey does? He said, well, he just kind of manipulates the hand around. It's excruciatingly painful.
It hurts me.
He says what he really thinks he does is he hurts him so badly that the rest of the pain just now fades away. Through the middle, but there is Biggio. That ball hit the mound. And Biggio throws out Brian Jordan, out number 2. More baseball. This is the first day of the 1999 Division Series in baseball. At 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific on NBC tonight. It's the Texas Rangers and the world champion Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Then at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, the New York Mets, the miracle team from the National League this year, against Randy Johnson and the Arizona Diamondbacks in Phoenix. For more, log on to ESPN.com. 2 down, Andrew Jones, the hitter. Andrew, the young and budding star, 275 average, 26 homers, 84 driven in. First ball swinging. Caminetti. They got that great arm. Getting the speedy Jones. 3 groundouts. 1-0. Astros top of the order coming up. Biggio, Spires, Bagwell.
ESPN's coverage of the divisional playoffs is brought to you by Transamerica. The people in the pyramid are working for you. And by Eddie Bauer, outdoor outfitter since 1920.
Perfect day for a ball game in Atlanta. This is John Miller along with Rick Sutcliffe. First ball swinging, Craig Biggio lifts a high foul off the third base side. Chipper Jones comes over, but it is in amongst the customers. 1 strike the count. Very fine play by Kent Caminetti to end the Braves' second inning. And Rick is expressing concern about his hamstring after that busted suicide screen, but he looked pretty fluid there.
Real good right there, able to go down and get that ball. And as you said, John, once he gets it loaded in that gun of his, you're out.
There's a changeup. Biggio swinging over it. 0-2 the count. Craig Biggio, one of the top leadoff men in the game. .294 average this year. .386 on base average. You see how they play him. Chipper Jones is over near the line at third. Oh, right there in the outside corner. And Maddux dispatches Biggio on just 3 pitches. 1 down in the third.
Hard to tell from here what the conversation was about, but as Greg Maddux went to the mound, he had a little conversation with home plate umpire Mike Winters. I might have said something like, Mike, I know the shadows are here. I know the hitters are having a tough time seeing the pitch, but are you having a tough time too? A lot of those pitches are pretty close. They look like strikes to me. We'll see if home plate opens up from this point on.
Bill Spires, the hitter, grounded out his first time. And that's a foul up the first base side. And Maddux threw a lot of pitches in that second inning in particular. More out of the strike zone. He threw 29 pitches than in the strike zone, which is very, very unusual.
And the biggest pitch of that inning he threw was out of the strike zone. It was the pitch out that was called by Bobby Cox.
Too far in with the cut fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike to Bill Spires. Jeff Bagwell is on deck. 1-0. The Astros are ahead. Leo Mazzoni perpetually rocking, the pitching coach for Atlanta, alongside Bobby Cox. Off the outside, and you can see Maddux not looking very pleased about that call. I think that's another pitch he wants to get.
Well, they've talked for years about the strike zone that the Atlanta Braves pitching staff gets. I don't think they deserve the ball that's off the plate, but the borderline pitch, I think most of their starters do, out of respect for what they've accomplished over the years. You're going to give it to Greg Maddux, or you're going to give it to Billy Spires. I think what Maddux has done with the 4 Cy Young awards, 12 years in a row now, he's won 15+ games.
3-1. Spires foul tips it into the glove of Perez. 3-2. Now Maddux is only the 4th pitcher in Major League history to go that long with 15 wins or more.
And look at the 4-seam fastball right here. No movement whatsoever.
And that's a base hit. So Spires on a 3-2 count singles to right, and now somebody is on base. Maddux will be out of the stretch against Jeff Bagwell. Cy Young did it for 15 consecutive years, went 15 or more. Gaylord Perry did it for 13. Greg Maddux and Christy Mathewson tied at 12 consecutive years.
Come on,
that is consistency.
We all know Gaylord had some help, though. Huh?
What are you talking about? The country sinker?
The sinker, and then that super sinker, that really good one.
They call it the country sinker. Come on. He just had the touch. 1 ball and no strikes to Bagwell. That's in there for a strike. He took something off. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bagwell, if you were with us before the ball game during our baseball special leading up to the game, we had a soundbite with Bagwell where he talked about why it's so tough with Maddux, how that fastball and that changeup looked like the same pitch. Go to first. Spires back to the bag. And Rick, you kind of explained how It has to do with the grip, and everything else is done exactly the same way by Maddux.
The only difference is that on that changeup, he has pressure coming from the index and his pinky squeezing the baseball.
Well, there's the changeup and a snap throw to first. Diving back, Spires. It was close. Prescott thought they had it. Nice throw by Perez, and he almost got it.
This is just another one of those reasons why Greg Maddux loves throwing to Eddie Perez. He just does not miss a thing. We're talking about a guy that's going to have surgery the day after the season ends. Look at the grip right there of the changeup. It's basically a two-seam fastball. See the movement, the lack of velocity because of the two fingers that are on the side of the baseball. That's where most of the pressure goes, and with the resistance coming out of the hand, that's the reason the velocity is way down.
But is the key to it then that it's from the same arm angle? It has the same kind of movement and rotation, and everything looks the same at just a slower speed?
Your delivery has to look like that exactly of your fastball. That's the key to any off-speed pitch, John. You can get away with a hanging changeup, a hanging breaking ball, if your delivery looks like that of your fastball. Hitters know that when you do something different, you drop your arm, more times than not, they'll slow down to try to get out front. They know it's not the fastball. They don't know what it is.
That one to center. Easy play for Andrew Jones out in the sunshine. Top number 2. So Bagwell is 0 for 2. Bagwell, who's done reasonably well against Maddux in regular season play in the past, but not in October. Not for him, not for any of the Astros.
You can see right there he had the two fingers on the side of that baseball, and Jeff Bagwell just out in front of it once again.
So 2 down. Bagwell is now 0 for 2. Craig Biggio is 0 for 2. Spires still at first. The Astros lead 1-0. Here is Carl Everett, who had a bunt single his first time. And that's right in on him. 1 ball to no strikes. Everett has had 9 hits in 26 career at-bats now against Maddux, so he's had some success with him. Spires has had success, 8 for 24.
Look at Brett Boone back there on that grass.
There goes Spires with a big jump. And he's in there easily. The throw offline. Now, a base hit could mean a run for the Astros.
That's the 11th stolen base of the year for Billy Spires. He's not a guy that normally is going to play every day, but because of injuries to other players and because of his production, he's in there in right field today. The base hit, now the stolen base.
And the changeup, 2-1.
And the biggest thing that Houston's going to try to do today off Greg Maddux, when they get somebody to second base, they're going to try to give location to the hitter. Spires will look at Perez and try to get him to move soon.
And back with a high fastball out of the strike zone. 2-2 the count. You see the bat speed there, the bat track, 90-mile-an-hour swing, which is excellent. But maybe a pitch that they'd rather not see him swing at. That's where it was. 2-2. That's Spires at second base. And the strikeout. That sinker came back over the inside corner. 1 man left on. 1-0 Houston. We go to the last of the third. Astros 1, Braves nothing. Greg Maddux getting out of a jam in the 3rd inning.
He just outfoxed Carl Everett right here. Look at him fanning that glove right there. He'll have to do that. He has to open the glove to get that changeup grip. We told you that there's 2 fingers on the sides of that baseball. Well, he fanned the glove. That made Everett think, okay, it's the changeup coming. It was the fastball on the inside corner. Carl Everett just got caught guessing right there.
Here's Eddie Perez to lead off for Atlanta, the 7th place hitter against Shane Reynolds. Reynolds and the Astros ahead 1-0. And the slider high and away for 1 ball, no strikes. Jose Hernandez will follow, and then Greg Maddux. The Braves having to turn to Perez as their regular catcher after losing their all-star catcher, Javi Lopez. That fastball is in there for a strike. And of course, they lost Javi Lopez after losing their big slugger, their cleanup man. their home run and RBI leader, Andres Galarraga, for the year. Both Javi and the Big Cat are here today, rooting their teammates out. Base hit for Perez.
Now, when you talk about Lopez and the Big Cat combined, you're talking about normally around 70 home runs and usually about 250 RBIs. Yet somehow Atlanta has found a way to win ball games. They just do not beat themselves. They let other teams do that. Perez gets a hanging breaking ball, and even on those bad knees right there, pitch was a pretty good one to hit.
There's the Big Cat, Andres Galarraga.
One of the best smiles in all of baseball, isn't it?
And he has served as an inspiration to his team, battling cancer. And he says everything's looking very good right now. He's very confident about being back next year.
Yeah, he said the bone that they took that cancer off of just needs to get a little bit stronger. Once that happens, he can start lifting again. He can start swinging the bat. He said it's good for him mentally just to be able to put a baseball bat in his hands and that uniform on his back.
Jose Hernandez, the hitter. 1 strike to count. The shortstop could be 2. Gutierrez boots it and gets just the 1 with Biggio covering. The force out on Perez. That looked like a perfectly hit double play ball.
It could possibly end up leading to something as well. Greg Maddux is one of those guys that can handle the bat. The sacrifice bunt will be put on by Ned Yost right here. But if Maddux sees the infield moving, he's going to put the ball in play. All of that set up because Gutierrez not able to handle that ground ball cleanly. Thus, there's still somebody on base.
1 out. Hernandez the runner. Hernandez has stolen 11 bases this year. Maddux already squared around to bunt. Pops it in the air, foul off to the left and into the crowd.
I think it's a big disadvantage for Houston when they come to Atlanta and get off that Astro turf. It's much easier for an infielder to go from natural grass to the turf because you're going to get the pure hops. You got to realize the ball's going to get on you a little bit quicker, but I think Gutierrez kind of got caught in between right there. He thought the ball would get to him quicker than it did. He kind of got caught, held back on his heels there, got it on a bad hop, and not able to complete the double play.
He took it too low from Shane Reynolds. 1 ball and 1 strike. Again, Maddux was showing bunt. Now, when you're taking on the Braves and a great pitcher like Greg Maddux, it can be a very serious thing. Not turning in a double play, not making all the plays. I mean, you don't want to give away anything against this club, against this pitcher. That's the bunt. First base side. Bagwell will go to Biggio covering. And the sacrifice has succeeded with Hernandez going over to second base.
That's really one thing that both of these starting pitchers today have in common. They can handle the bat. They can put it in play. They can sacrifice bunt when that's needed. And that becomes so important in this league over here. A guy that can mix in a base hit once in a while, that can sacrifice bunt. He can take what would normally be a record of 10 and 10, and I mean, he can take that to 12 and 8, 13 and 7 from time to time.
Well, Maddux was second in the league only to Shane Reynolds in getting sacrifice bunts down, and both of them hit well. Maddux had 2 home runs and 7 RBIs this year, and of course, as we mentioned, Reynolds led all pitchers with 14 RBIs. Change up to short, high hop, and Gutierrez throws out Gerald Williams. So again, Williams up there hacking on the first pitch. 1-0 Houston. We go to the 4th. Caminetti coming up. ESPN's coverage of Game 1 of this National League Division Series coming to you from Turner Field, Atlanta. 1-0. The Astros lead the Braves. We go to the 4th. Greg Maddux, the master on the mound.
Between fan and the glove right there. Playing the maestro right there. Carl Everett going. He's got to open that glove to get the changeup. Maddux did it like 5 or 6 times right there, making sure that Everett seen that.
There's Caminetti with a changeup, and of course, what he got was not the changeup, Carl Everett, but the fastball for strike 3. Well, Caminetti just saw a changeup. He walked his first time. Former National League MVP not so long ago. With those enduring pictures of him last October in the World Series, taking the big swings at Yankee Stadium and falling over.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised at all to see him have a big series here against Atlanta.
Now the changeup.
I actually saw him smiling before the game today, John. And that's something Ken Caminiti didn't do a whole lot of last year when he was hurt going into the playoffs, nor basically all year during the regular season. When he's not healthy, he's just not going to smile.
Off the outside. More often than not over the years when he's not healthy, he still plays. Sometimes defying comprehension with so much pain. That one is a base hit to right field. So Caminiti gets the 4th hit for the Astros, and now Darrell Ward, the rookie, will come up. Well, this is an interesting thing, Rick, about this fanning the glove. I mean, I'm interested about this. I mean, now there's somewhere somebody must have figured out when he opens that glove up like that or fans the glove,
right,
he's getting the grip for the changeup, so now we know it's coming.
And I tell you what happens when he gets a guy at second base and he knows that the guy's looking in his glove, right? He wants to see that changeup grip rather than the fastball. Maddux will put the changeup grip in there. He'll fan a couple of times, and right as he goes to deliver it, he'll go back to the fastball, knowing that the guy at second base has told the hitter a changeup's coming. So you got a couple of ways to go. One, if you think they're trying to give away location or the pitch, you can always throw at somebody. You can always move them. Either that or you can deceive them, as Greg Maddux just did.
The art of deception. Greg Maddux throwing a strike to Darrell Ward, who struck out his first time on a changeup in the dirt. 273 during the regular year. Well, that's interesting. I mean, at some point, Maddux figured it out that he was giving that pitch away. Softly hit. That will move Caminiti over to second as Boone throws out Ward for out number 1.
I was actually there with Greg Maddux back in 1987 when he struggled with a 6-14 year because everybody knew every pitch that was coming. Look at him open it up right there. Now he's got the grip that he wants. All right. He made sure that Everett saw that his glove was opening back and forth. There's the Darrell Ward. Ward trying to pull that pitch because he knew Klesko had to hold the base runner on. He wasn't able to get enough of it to get it into right field, but he did get Caminiti into scoring position.
Now Eusebio, and Eusebio on a 3-2 pitch got the base hit to drive in the only run of this game back in the second inning. And he has had success in the limited time that he's faced Maddux. 5 hits, 14 career at bats against him. Nice pitch. Right there on the edge, right at the knees, strike 1. Well, all of this, I guess, is part of the mystique of Greg Maddux, because you sit and watch him. He's not overpowering anybody. He doesn't have the greatest curveball in history. His slider doesn't make you shake at the knees. Brett Boone throws out Eusebio. Now Caminiti's over to third base. What he does do is beat everybody time after time.
I had the pleasure of playing with him in Chicago. Also another guy named Jamie Moyer, who's gone on to have a lot of success with Seattle. Bobby Cox coming out to the mound right now.
You got the 8th place hitter up, and the pitcher Shane Reynolds behind him with 2 down.
Bobby Cox is such a great communicator with all of his players. In particular, the players that struggle. He's got that ability. It's almost like when their gas tank gets low, a conversation with Bobby Cox will put a gallon or 2 of gas in your tank. You go out there and you feel like you're performing better than you really are. He's going to put this into the hands of Greg Maddux. You want to put him on? I don't need to make that decision. You can.
High and tight. Well, that was just like ball 4 to Gutierrez the last time he was up to eat. Got one right under his chin for ball 4 the last time. Now ball 1 this time.
I've heard of guys in the past that had incentives in their contract for, you don't walk anybody, we'll give you a bonus. You get to 2-0, 3-0, just hit the guy.
So it doesn't count against the walk.
Yeah, there you go. He's going to be on one way or another. Now Greg Maddux is going to go ahead and just put him on right here.
And there's the intentional ball 3 with the pitcher Shane Reynolds on deck, 2 down, runner at third in the 4th inning. By the way, if, as you figure, Cox was giving him the option, you would figure he did want to pitch to him, because Gutierrez has had 4 hits in 30 at-bats against Maddux. He's never done well against him.
One of the biggest thrills of my career, we were in Philadelphia, and I was hitting against Steve Carlton. Well, Steve Yeager was hitting before I was, a man on third, only 1 out. Danny Ozark, the manager of the Phillies, motioned out 4, put Yeager on and pitched to Sutcliffe. Steve Carlton looked in there and said no. I went, yeah, he'd rather face Yeager than me. He just struck us both out.
That's a strike on the outside to Reynolds.
Had the old chest pumped out. I thought, man, you know, he'd rather face Yeager. Oh, well.
0-1 the count to Reynolds. Reynolds grounded out to short his first time, but in that at bat before the ground out, there was the busted suicide squeeze. The Astros had a run in. They had the bases loaded, 1 out. The squeeze was put on, but the Braves saw it coming. They pitched out, and no bunt, and Ken Caminetti was caught between third and home. Big play in this game right now. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reynolds slaps a pop-up foul off to the right into the crowd. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Caminetti led off the inning with a single. He's at third, and Gutierrez with 2 down drew an intentional walk. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Reynolds. Biggio, the leadoff man, would be next. Little tap. Gonna have to hurry in time. And a lot of Astros might have beaten that one out, other than Shane Reynolds. Still 1-0. Boone and King Chipper Jones coming. Game 1 of this National League Division Series, the Astros and the Braves, 1-0. The Astros lead as we go to the last of the 4th inning. Pretty nice play by Greg Maddux on the final out of this little tapper by Shane Reynolds.
Well, normally the catcher will make this play right here. We talked about Perez being hurt already. It's an easier play for him because he would be going in the direction of first base. Maddux knows that his catcher's not physically 100%. Greg Maddux also knows that he's won 9 Gold Gloves, and he can certainly make that play with anybody in baseball.
By the way, that's an interesting point because I think it also entered their thinking when they made up their postseason roster. The Braves are going with 9 pitchers, which they feel for them with their starters is plenty. On the other hand, they're going with 3 catchers, which some teams would rather only go with 2 this time of year, but it gives Bobby Cox a little more flexibility in case Eddie Perez needs to be run for or hit for. Brett Boone takes a called strike. He hit a double play his first time. He'll be followed by the power, Chipper Jones, and then Ryan Klesko. When you get into the power of the Braves, even without Lopez and Galarraga, there's a lot of power there. That's a strike. It's 0-2. By the way, Rick, Shane Reynolds, in his last 3 regular season starts, he gave up 13 earned runs on 23 hits in 13 2/3 innings. I mean, he was just horrible those last 3. Nice pickup by Bagwell. Now that is an outstanding play. 1 away. But Reynolds has certainly calmed things down in this one. He has come out throwing strikes and has shut the Braves down early.
Well, I think the key to Reynolds' success was the very first at bat back in the bottom of the 1st inning by Brett Boone when he took a swing at the first pitch. He was more patient right here. Reynolds has got a good forkball. That is his out pitch, but his fastball is very hittable. You wait for a ball up and out over the plate. You can hit the ball hard, as Boone did right there. Bagwell with a nice play of his own.
Now Chipper Jones up for the 2nd time. And the forkball is too low. Now, of the 10 men he's retired, only 1 has hit the ball in the air. 9 ground ball outs, including the double play ball from Boone in the 1st inning. And that fastball down and away. 2-0 to Chipper Jones. Now, this is the way he started in the last time. It looked like he wanted nothing to do with Chipper. Went to 3-0. Chipper then went out, probably out of the strike zone, and hit a fly ball to the left to end the 1st inning. And now he's 2-0 here. And 3-0 again. Well, the Mets pitched to him in that series 2 weeks ago and lived to regret it. 45 home runs this year for Chipper Jones, including a big September, really for the first time in his career. This time a 4-pitch walk. With 1 out, he takes the walk. The first walk allowed by Reynolds, and now Ryan Klesko is coming up. More big baseball Day 1 Division Series action. The Rangers and the Yankees on NBC at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Then right back here on ESPN, the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Mets up against the big unit, Randy Johnson, tonight, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific on ESPN. Yanks look a little more vulnerable this year. Here is Klesko. Big swing and a foul off the left field line. Back out of play. 0-1. Klesko grounded out to Biggio. Made a nice play to get him in the second inning.
John, there's been people in the game of baseball a lot longer than I have, but I do not remember a more exciting scenario going into the playoffs than the one that we have this year. I think any team could win the World Series before this thing's over with. Boston's got Pedro Martinez. Arizona's got the big unit. New York.
Left field, Darrell Ward over near the line. And Klesko is gone. Chipper Jones back to first. 2 down in the 4th inning. 1-0. Houston leading. Brian Jordan will come up. Well, talking with you on that subject, I mean, this series has the makings of being rather lopsided because the Braves are so well set up for it. Finished the season on a roll, and the Astros finished in a slump. Had to pitch their top pitchers right at the end. Their rotation is not set the way they'd like it for this series. On the other hand, if they win today, that really could all change dramatically and really put the heat on the Braves. 0-1. He got the fastball by Jordan. Jose Lima goes tomorrow, a 21-game winner. He'll also be going on short rest.
Well, we talked with Larry Dierker about that before the game, and if you win game 1, would you move Lima back to get not only a normal rest but 1 extra day? And he said, I don't think so. He said, I think he's more effective when he's tired than he is when he's strong. Lima, control type pitcher, sinker, change up most of the time. Got a little breaking ball. You'd like to have that arm strength to throw the good breaking ball, but he really doesn't need it with his fastball. The harder he throws it, the flatter it gets.
He said Lima seems to struggle when he's a little too strong and is overthrowing. Jordan pops it foul and back out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Andrew Jones on deck. 2 down. Chipper Jones at first. Tomorrow we'll have it for you at 4 o'clock on ESPN, 1 Pacific. Jose Lima 21-10. Kevin Millwood 18-7. He is the little known name in this Atlanta rotation, but hitters in the National League will tell you he had the best year of all of them this year.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Millwood get more Cy Young Award votes than Jose Lima does. He's been that dominating.
1-2 the count. And the slider low and outside. 2-2. Eric Karras of the Dodgers a couple of weeks back said that he thought Millwood, if he had a vote, was his Cy Young. I mean, he would have voted for him because he's just been that good.
Well, Chipper Jones said that Millwood has been their ace this year. Maddux struggled early in the year. Glavine has struggled. Smoltz has been hurt. Millwood's been consistent.
Chipper Jones running. The ball fouled back to the screen. 2-2. Chipper will go back to first.
I don't think if Brian Jordan was healthy, Chipper would be running in this situation. He's got 25 stolen bases coming into the playoffs. He can run. He designed himself this year to steal more bases. He wanted to get a little bit quicker from the belt down, stronger from the waist up. And boy, has he put together a package.
I'm going to talk to him. I want to do the same thing. Wait till you see me next spring. 2-2 the count. And that is a pop foul. It goes out of play. Still 2-2 to Jordan, batting in the 4th inning. In the shadows here, looking into that bright hitter's background out there. This is just not a good day to be a hitter at Turner Field, not this time of day. 2-2 the count. Shane Reynolds off to a strong beginning. There goes Chipper. Base hit to left field. Chipper Jones around second, heading for third. The throw by Ward, cut off by Gutierrez. First and third, 2 down.
John, you know, a lot of times getting from second to third base with 2 outs is not that big of a deal, but I think in this situation it becomes huge. Andrew Jones is up with a man on second base. You don't worry about that wild pitch. That's not going to cost you a run. Chipper Jones knew that. He had to get to third base. He took a chance, but he was able to not only take advantage of the lack of defense from the left fielder of the Houston Astros, Darrell Ward, but he knows that it takes away the strength of Shane Reynolds as a pitcher. He bounces that forkball right now. It gets away from the catcher. We got a tie ball game. You hang that forkball, Andrew Jones might put up a field goal with a 3-run homer.
Jones 26 home runs in the regular season. Jordan back to the bag at first. Jordan, a fast runner. And of course, Chipper Jones, who got real quick from the waist down and real strong from the waist up this year. I'm using that from now on. And a fastball in there for a strike to Andrew Jones. 0-1. Andrew looking over. Third base coach Ned Yost for the side. Andrew grounded out to third his first time. Bobby Cox, his Braves are trailing 1-0 in the 4th inning. They have a threat. They're first of the game. Ooh, he went up after it. All right, it's 0-2. Well, he's been going up there after it. What do you do now?
We'll climb the ladder routine. You started out with a fastball in the outside corner for a strike. You go belt high with strike 2. You go shoulder high for hopefully strike 3. Reynolds has stayed away from his best pitch, that split-fingered fastball, thus far in this at-bat.
Well, he did exactly the way you predicted. 1 ball, 2 strike. Now what?
Well, you go to your strength or his weakness, and they happen to be one and the same right here. It's the split-fingered fastball.
1-2.
You got to have a lot of faith in your catcher right here because you need that pitch down.
There it is, and it's a high fly ball, shallow center. Biggio, and in the shadows, he grabs it, and the Braves' budding rally has been snuffed out. Top of the order, Biggio, Spires, and Bagwell coming up. 1-0 Astros. The red, white, and blue bunting of October baseball is out in force at Turner Field today. It all begins right here. Now the Aflac trivia question. How many Cy Young Awards have Braves pitchers won in the 1990s? How about this? All of them? That's my guess. Wait a minute. Maddux. I need a little clarification on this question. I mean, how many have been won by Braves pitchers currently with the Braves? Or how many won by Braves pitchers while they were with the Braves? That's 2 different questions, right?
There was also one slipped in there by a guy from Montreal. A guy named Pedro that happens to wear a Red Sox uniform.
Oh, you're counting that one? Craig Biggio, 0 for 2 in the game. Thrown out by Jose Hernandez. So Biggio has not been able to get on base so far today.
And as we mentioned in the pregame, that's so important to the offense of the Houston Astros. I think in Craig Biggio's next at bat, he may steal a page from the game plan of Carl Everett. The defense is playing him so deep. He might need to take advantage of that speed and lay down a bunt. Swinging the bat just does not work for him against Greg Maddux.
Bill Spires. Now that is pretty strong indictment of a guy against a certain pitcher. Just to say, well, what doesn't work for him is swinging the bat. That's when the pitcher's awfully tough on you. Yeah. I have no success with him when I actually swing the bat.
It's a tough thing to do, but as much as you hate to, every now and then you just got to tip your hat to a guy and say, hey, I'm scuffling with you. I got to try something else.
Bill Spires is grounded out and single. And the count is 2-0. Now, by the way, the Aflac trivia question. What we're looking for is how many Cy Young Awards have been won by Braves pitchers while they've been with the Braves. Who knew that this would be so complicated when we started? 3-0. And we spent half this playoff game talking about this question and what the actual question really was. Anyway, we know Greg Maddux has won 4, but not all with the Braves. And we're probably breaking open old wounds in Chicago, even bringing this up, right?
Good buddy next door, Mark Grace, doing radio for ESPN. I think he didn't want to see Maddux in a Cub uniform.
Strike 2, 3-2 the count now. To Bill Spires, Jeff Bagwell on deck. The Astros scoring the game's only run in the second inning on a single by Tony Eusebio. Now time granted at home plate. You mentioned Mark Grace. There he is with Jim Durham on ESPN Radio. Hey, he's got his ESPN Radio outfit on over there. Foul ball off to the right. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
I got to tell you, he called me this morning. He said, hey, you got to talk to me. He said, what's this broadcasting all about? He comes down to the room and he's just scared to death. He's like, he couldn't sit down. He's walking around. He says, I'm so nervous right now.
That's a base hit for Bill Spires. So Spires has 2 hits today, 2 for 3, and here's Jeff Bagwell, also 0 for 2. Looks like his teammate Biggio hitless against Maddux.
Now Bagwell caught himself just out in front of that changeup on the outer half in his last at bat. Tried to stay back so that he could keep the best part of the bat on the baseball, but not quite able to do that.
And Bagwell, we've often had him in the 90s with his bat speed. And you can see there from Backtrack. He had his bat speed lowered considerably, but here on a fastball, a single. Here's the long throw by Jordan, and it hit Jordan. It ricochets to the dugout. And then it hit Jordan. It hit Spires and ricocheted to the dugout. And over to second base goes Jeff Bagwell. And they had screens in front of the dugouts here. In many fields, that would have gone right into the dugout, and a run would have scored already.
John, this is exactly the reason right here why Larry Dierker didn't hesitate to put Billy Spires in this lineup. He knew that he was going to battle at home plate. He was going to put the ball in play off Greg Maddux, something that Derek Bell had trouble doing. Well, now with him on base, Bagwell just takes a shot through that hole created between the first and second baseman, and Spires, hustling as he always does, gets into third and is almost able to score on that throw getting away.
Well, now here is Carl Everett, who had such a big year, and they're not even going to think about pitching to him. They're going to walk him right away to set up the double play with the rookie, or with the veteran, but a switch hitter, Ken Caminetti, next. So this is interesting. Caminetti has walked and singled today already, but they're going to walk Everett to set up the double play. This will be the 4th walk allowed by Maddux. That could have been an awfully close play at third base on Spires if that throw from Jordan had not hit him.
You got men on first and second right here. If Spires were to not hustle and create this situation, there's no problem. You pitch to Carl Everett. But now as a manager, Bobby Cox, you put your neck underneath the guillotine on something like this. You're saying that your pitcher can get the next hitter out when you intentionally walk somebody. Ken Caminetti has not had an MVP type year. He has struggled with runners in scoring position, and I would imagine it's those numbers that created the intentional walk.
It is high and tight. 1 ball, no strikes. And he's also going after a guy who finished the year on a roll. 34 RBIs, the last 32 games of the year for Caminetti, including that awesome home run Sunday at the Astrodome. Ooh, man, that looked like a strike, and Maddux hollers in, and Winters takes off the mask and hollers right back at him. 2-0.
This conversation right here is not as friendly as the one that Greg Maddux had when he took the mound back in the second inning. Look at him, mad right there.
2 balls, no strikes. Well, this time Caminetti chased that pitch. He might have been lower than the last one. Here's Spires, Bagwell, and Everett, the 3 runners. The middle infield double play depth. They walked Everett, hoping that Caminetti might hit the double play ball, I guess. Oh, took the fastball. And Larry Dierker talked about that before the game. He said you will get with a control pitcher like this who doesn't walk anybody. You will get some fastballs that he'll leave over the middle of the plate. You got to be ready for him.
And this is the fastball right here that he was talking about. That pitch, very hittable. The one Caminiti swung out with a count 2-0 was not.
2-2 the count. That could be 2. Boone to second 1. Hernandez to first. 2. Double play. The side is retired, and it worked out beautifully. And Maddux walks off the field with a long-distance conversation with umpire Mike Winters. Now, we've been getting thousands of calls from all around the country for the Aflac Trivia question answer. How many not really. Not. How many Cy Young Awards have Braves pitchers won in the 90s? Well, it's a lot. We know that. 6. Maddux won 3. Glavine and Smoltz. Maybe you already knew that. It's a lot. That's just the one decade. It means not many other teams have won that many. The Cubs, we know, won 1.
I remember Maddux after he won 4 in a row, and 3 of those obviously coming with Atlanta. I was playing golf with him the day the 5th Cy Young Award was announced, and he ended up finishing second that year to Pedro Martinez. And I said, what are you doing playing golf? How come you're not sitting by the phone? He says, I'm not going to get a call. I said, you're kidding. I said, you got a shot at that thing. He says, no, I don't. He said, he's better than I am. I mean, that tells you the modesty of Greg Maddux. And when you look at all those Cy Youngs and the numbers that he puts up over the years, it tells you why he's something special to baseball.
Eddie Perez. He was lurching backward out of the way of that sinker, but it was called a strike by Mike Winters. Mike Winters becoming a controversial figure in Atlanta today.
That's by design right there. Perez is trying to show up Mike Winters because he thought a couple of pitches last inning should have been called. Look at that. That's a strike. What's Perez doing right there? He's trying to create more fan attention on the home plate umpire.
So you think that was on purpose?
Oh, no question about it. Eddie Perez knows that the reason he's in the big leagues is the starting pitcher for the Braves today. Greg Maddux loves throwing to him. And now with the injury to Javi Lopez, there's a few other guys that decided they like throwing to Perez as well.
Rick Sutcliffe, conspiracy theorist.
I just know how you work a home plate umpire when you have to. Maddux had words with Mike Winters as he walked off.
0-2 the count. Perez singled his first time. He's the 7th place hitter. Jose Hernandez on deck. And the slider off the outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. When Greg Maddux walked off the field after the double play ball, he was still conversing long distance with Mike Winters. The 2 hollering at one another as Maddux left the field. That's a high foul down the right field line, giving chase is Spires, but it is out of play.
See, right now, I don't think that Shane Reynolds really knows how to play the game. You got to give Mike Winters, the umpire, a chance to get even. Have Eusebio sit about 8 inches off the outside corner, hit the glove so that the guys in the dugouts can't tell if it's a strike or not. They can't tell in or out from the dugouts. They can tell up or down, and they'll yell about that. But sit off that outside corner, see if Mike Winters wants to get even.
Well, he went to the splitter in the dirt. 2-2.
Too far down.
So this is really the game in the game. You're all about working these umpires.
And the time you have to. You might walk off the mound and say, hey, when did they change the strike zone? You know, look, it's like, what? Well, obviously they changed it because what used to be a strike is not a strike today.
2-2. And that is a foul. Well, I'm with you now. What you say you're doing it? Get off that outside. 6-8 inches. Let Reynolds pop the glove. So,
and you could have done it with the count 0-2.
Mike Winters can send a message that you'd like for him to send. 2-2 the count to Perez. The splitter, the third. Tough hop for Caminiti. Played nicely. Caminiti was up there with the bases loaded and 1 out. And he had a 1 ball, no strike count against Maddux.
He did not need to swing at that 2-0 pitch. That's the 2-0 right there, or the 1-0, excuse me. There was a strike Maddux thought. Now look at the one right there he takes. There's the changeup right there. Caminiti out in front. Inning over with.
And then when he walked off the field, he had a few more words for Mike Winters. 1 out, nobody on. Jose Hernandez. Maddux on deck. That curveball hung up there, and it's a base hit to center. And that is the Braves' 4th hit of the day. They trail 1-0 in the 5th inning. Maddux to the plate now, with Hernandez at first.
Not going to be a whole lot said in this at bat right here, is it?
Maddux had the sacrifice bunt his first time.
It's a game of emotion. And Greg Maddux would like to not have said anything as he walked off the mound right there, but sometimes you just can't control yourself. He's regrouped right now, and a little bit of that credit needs to go to their pitching coach, Leo Mazzoni.
The hit and run was on. He missed it, but a poor throw by Eusebio into center field. Hernandez tried to get up and tripped over Gutierrez, and Everett hustling in to back up that play. He runs it back to the infield. A steal for Hernandez.
Really the only option in the lineup that Bobby Cox had with the Atlanta Braves was this shortstop position right here. He could have started Walt Weiss. Walt Weiss is going to give you a little bit more defensively than Jose Hernandez will. But offensively is why Hernandez was in the lineup. Once he got the base hit, Bobby Cox is trying to see if he can't create a run right here. He knows the pitcher can swing the bat. Now you got 2 swings at driving in that run rather than just the one if you would have put on the sacrifice.
Maddux hits it hard, but to the shortstop Gutierrez. Holding Hernandez, and Maddux is thrown out at first. Remember, Maddux a pretty good hitter with 7 RBIs in the regular season. 2 homers, a double, and a triple.
How about Bobby Cox's day so far? MVP of this game in my mind is Bobby Cox right now, even though Houston's got the lead. You let Greg Maddux swing the bat, as you see right there. That ball's hit hard. Might have gotten through the infield with a little bit better location, but didn't. Bobby Cox called the pitch out with the bases loaded and the pitcher at home plate. That worked. And he also put on the intentional base on balls for Carl Everett to bring up Caminiti. That worked.
Here's Gerald Williams now to try to get Hernandez home. 2 down, 5th inning. Gerald has swung at that first pitch every time. This one way up out of the strike zone. A good fastball from Reynolds. 1 strike to count. Neither team has had success, not much anyway, with men in scoring position. The Braves haven't had many opportunities compared to the Astros, who've had a day filled with chances against Maddux. That is Hernandez at second. Right past Reynolds and through. Coming around third, Hernandez, and he will score. It is tied at 1. I was surprised. I thought Gutierrez might have had a chance to dive for that one and maybe keep it on the infield.
I think they might have got fooled once again, John. They played their home games on AstroTurf. On AstroTurf, this ball is through to the center fielder. If they could get to it, they might have knocked it down and kept that run from scoring. Watch the ball just die right there. Gutierrez took the wrong angle to try to knock that ball down. If you got a man on third, you got to make the play. When he's on second, you simply got to knock the ball down.
Now Brett Boone. And sinker in there for a called strike. So it is 1-1. And all of those missed chances now for the Astros come fresh to mind. They had the bases loaded and 1 out on the second and a run already in and did not score. The suicide squeeze that wasn't cost them dearly. Big cut by Boone. 0-2 the count. They had a runner at second in the 3rd inning and left him there. They had 2 men on and 2 men out in the 4th inning and did not score. And the bases loaded and 1 out, and Caminiti up there in the 5th inning and did not score. That's a lot of great opportunities without anything at all to show for them. Back off the glove. And the shortstop Gutierrez has no play. Everybody's safe, and now Chipper Jones comes up with a chance to do some serious damage.
Right about now is where you start looking for fatigue on the part of Shane Reynolds. He's going on just 3 days rest. That's 1 day less than normal. He had the count 0-2. Look at the location on that fastball right there. You've got to try to expand the zone, not center the pitch right down the heart of the plate. Reynolds trying to conserve pitches. He knows that his arm is not at 100%. Vern Rule coming out to the mound right now. Try to calm him down a little bit. Say, hey, stay within yourself. Stay within the game plan in particular. Don't give Chipper Jones a pitch to give the Atlanta Braves the lead.
Vern Rule back into the dugout now. Also 2 balls back here to Shane Reynolds, and he almost got both of them. The base hit by Williams just out of his reach, just an inch or 2 off his glove. And Brett Boone hitting one off of Reynolds here. That ends up being an infield hit. And Chipper Jones with 45 home runs for the year, and he's also done real well against Shane Reynolds. 1 run is in. Fastball off the outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Jones on a 3-0 pitch, flied out to left in the first. In the 4th inning, he walked on 4 pitches. In fact, Reynolds really had not thrown him a strike yet today. Ryan Klesko on deck. Gerald Williams at second. Brett Boone at first. Way outside. 2-0.
Chipper Jones said that in the past, if I failed, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I was a young guy. That was going to happen from time to time. But when Lopez went down, when Galarraga went down, he said, I became the guy. I've got to succeed in situations like this.
3-0. Gerald Williams at second. Brett Boone at first. Chipper Jones this year for Atlanta hitting .308 with runners in scoring position. 3-0. Ryan Klesko, another tough out on deck, and that is ball 4. I mean, he's thrown 12 pitches to Chipper Jones, and none of it has been in the strike zone yet. That's twice that he has walked him. Chipper swung and hit a fly ball on a 3-0 pitch that looked to be out of the zone in the first inning.
Right now, Shane Reynolds has got to clear his mind. He did what he wanted to do to Chipper Jones, but it's that 0-2 fastball he threw to Brett Boone that is bothering him right now. He needs to get that out of his mind and put all of his attention right here on Ryan Klesko, because this guy's got pretty good numbers with runners in scoring position. He's also hitting .346 coming into the game against Shane Reynolds.
And the splitter in there for a strike. Greg Maddux. He has been in trouble all day long, under duress from the Astros lineup, but has allowed only 1 run. Now the Braves trying to put him ahead. Fastball missing. 1 ball, 1 strike to Klesko, who was grounded to second and flied out to left. There's Williams at third base. He drove in the run. Boone at second, and Chipper Jones, who walked at first. 3 men on, 2 men out. All 3 of these runners reached base after 2 men were gone. And the cleanup hitter is up there for the Braves. 1-1 the score. Off the outside, 2-1. And for the first time today, Larry Dierker gets his bullpen going. Chris Holt, a right-hander, starting to throw.
Chipper hitting over .300 against Reynolds. Klesko hitting well over .300 against Shane Reynolds. The guy in the on-deck circle just hitting over .200. But to get to him in this inning is going to cost you a run.
There's the splitter, and it is swung on and missed, so he's gotten 2 of those by him here in this at-bat. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
This right here has been the difference in Ryan Klesko as of this year, and opposed to the last 3, where his homers went down, his RBIs went down, his average struggled. He almost hit .300 this year because he shortened his stroke. He sacrificed a little bit in the power area to put the ball in play more often.
2-2. And a high foul. Out of play off to the left. Came after him with a fastball. Klesko. It's a foul out of play, and the count remains 2-2.
Lesko gives a lot of credit for that adjustment to the new hitting instructor this year for the Braves, Don Baylor. You don't read as much about it because you read about all the changes Baylor made, in particular with Chipper Jones from the right side of the plate.
Chipper's been a new man from the right side this year. 2-2 to Klesko. And he jammed him with that fastball. And again, Chipper fought it off. There's Baylor, who perhaps won't be long for this job as Braves hitting instructor. His name has come up in many of the managerial rumors. There's some jobs that have come open, and maybe more that come open this
Why
winter.
wouldn't you hire that guy as a manager? You not only get a terrific manager, but one of the best hitting coaches in baseball for the price of one.
And of course, he helped resurrect the career of Andres Galarraga a few years back. That fastball got him swinging. So Shane Reynolds gets out of his first huge jam of the day. 1-1. We go to the 6th. A beautiful day for a ball game here in October in Atlanta. 1-1 the score as we head to the 6th inning. Here's the New Era Sports Caps in-game box score. And for Craig Biggio, still not able to get on base against these Atlanta Braves in the postseason. Bill Spires has had quite a day. Tony Eusebio has driven in the only run for the Astros. Still, all in all, a very frustrating day for them. They've had chances to do a lot more. Darrell Ward skying one deep to right field. This one has a chance. This one is gone. A home run. So the rookie, Darrell Ward, in his first playoff action, has hit a home run against Greg Maddux. And man, did he get a hanger. And it was just a soaring, majestic shot just back over the wall in right field. And just like that, the Astros are ahead 2-1.
I'll tell you what, you got to give Darrell Ward a lot of credit. This guy could be a first baseman in the big leagues for most teams in baseball, with the exception of where he plays in Houston. He knows Jeff Bagwell's there. He knows he's going to be a while. He went to AAA, put up unbelievable numbers, lost 20-some pounds so that he could play the outfield.
Tony Eusebio, base hit to right field. Eusebio, who drove in the run in the second with a clutch single, gets his second hit of the day.
He's not going to be an even average left fielder in his career. But one thing Darrell Ward will do is this right here, probably 30 or 40 times a year. It's the changeup. It's up just a little bit. But unlike everybody else that was out in front of that pitch all day, Darrell Ward right on it. And I mean, after all the work Atlanta did to tie this game up, one swing of the bat, momentum back on the Astros side.
And you saw that bat speed, 92 miles an hour. So he's got the big-time, big slugger bat speed with any of the best in the game that we've clocked these last couple of years.
And it comes from nowhere. There's a short stride. There's not a big hitch with the hands. That's just something that's impossible to teach. It's just a given ability that Darrell Ward has.
So Darrell Ward making his bow on the national stage today after, in the clinching game on Sunday at the Astrodome, he hit that big 3-run double in the first inning. Gutierrez to short, should be 2 to get 1 there. Boone to first. Double play.
I asked Darrell before the game if his father Gary, former big league star, good hitter himself with the Minnesota Twins, a couple of other clubs, was here for the game today, and he said no. He said Pops is tired right now. Gary is with the Charlotte team in AAA, and they just finished with the AAA World Series. Pops at home getting a little bit of rest, I'm sure, watching the game today.
Here's Shane Reynolds, and he lines one over the middle, base hit into center field. Here's Shane Reynolds, who's been up there with men on base all day long, and everything's gone wrong with him up there at the plate. But this time, when the base is empty, he gets a single. In the bullpen, the right-hander Kevin McGlinchey, the left-hander Terry Mulholland for the Atlanta Braves. First bullpen activity of the day for Atlanta. Greg Maddux has worked hard in this game. He's had to throw a lot of pitches. We're only in the 6th inning, and he is over 100 pitches already. It's a strike on the outside to Craig Biggio. Biggio has flied to right, struck out looking, and grounded out to short. Such a key man for the Astros. The Astros are back ahead 2-1. Reynolds at first. That's a base hit to right field. That's what they wanted to see from Biggio. And Reynolds is going to test Jordan. Here comes the throw. It's offline a bit, but still the tag. They got it. Well, Bill Spires with 2 hits today was on deck. One of their best hitters against Maddux. And Reynolds gets cut down in an ill-advised run to third. 2-1 Astros. Brian Jordan's coming up.
Kick off the action with the Euro 2000 qualifiers on Orbit ESPN. Live Sunday night at 5:30, Croatia take on fierce rivals and Group 8 leaders Yugoslavia in a qualification showdown. For the Croats, 3 points are a must. But lately, the Yugoslavs have been scoring for fun. The Euro 2000 qualifiers on Orbit ESPN.
The Astros 2, the Braves 1 in Game 1 of this best-of-5 division series in the National League. Is the New Era Sports Caps in-game box score. Gerald Williams has driven in the Braves' only run, a clutch 2-out single to center in the 5th inning. One of his 2 hits. Chipper Jones, Shane Reynolds has made it his day's work not to throw a strike to Chipper Jones, and he has succeeded so far. Jose Hernandez has scored the Braves' only run. And the Braves left the bases loaded with their cleanup hitter up there in the 5th inning, Ryan Klesko. So both teams have moments where they could have done more than what they have done.
How about the day for Chipper Jones? He's seen nothing but 12 balls. He actually put one of them in play on a 3-0 pitch in his first at bat, but that's the game plan for Houston. We're not going to make the same mistake the New York Mets did.
A reworked outfield with Barker now in center. Everett moves over to right. And Spires to left, and Ward, who was in there after all, hoping that they were hoping that he might pop one, and he did. And now, having done that, they get him out of there and get their better defensive look in. Darrell Ward, his first postseason game, and a pretty good debut for him. A big home run against Greg Maddux, no less, in the 6th inning. Well, here's Brian Jordan. Shane Reynolds showed some signs perhaps of fatigue there in the 5th inning. He's had 80 pitches, but remember, pitching on only 3 days of rest for the 2nd consecutive time. Jordan, the hitter, is grounded to second and single to left. That's up out of the shadows, but foul down the right field line, giving chase. Everett, the right fielder, out of play.
We'll keep a close eye on Shane Reynolds here in the bottom of the 6th inning. It looked like in the bottom of the 5th, his arm started to get a little bit tired. He started dropping down just a tad. Fastballs were up in the zone, more so than like the first 4 innings when they were down. Now, after getting thrown out at third base for the last out in the top of the 6th inning, there might be a little bit of fatigue in his legs.
1 strike to count. Fastball, base hit, right center. So Jordan has his 2nd hit of the day. Hit number 7 for Atlanta. And Andrew Jones will come up.
Well, there are certain guys you want to take the extra base and try to do something to set the tone. Billy Spires is one of those guys. Shane Reynolds is not. Look at him right there. He never even looked back until it was too late. At that point, you don't need to look for the throw. Your third base coach is the only buddy you got out there. He should have looked at the third base coach before he got to second base. Mike Cubbage would have said, stay right where you're at.
Man, if he had just gone hard and slid into third, he probably would have made it. Here's Andrew Jones, powerful right-handed hitter, slider, just off the outside. I think Reynolds wanted that call. Now, you mentioned Reynolds perhaps showing signs of fatigue. In the 4th inning, he threw 20 pitches. In the 5th inning, he threw 26 pitches. So he's had a couple of labored innings, high-stress innings. That's a pop-up foul back toward us. And just down below. 1 ball, 1 strike. Andrew Jones with a 91-mile-an-hour bat speed. So he's up there. He's one of those quick bats.
He needs to slow that bat speed down a little bit, though, John, because Reynolds hasn't thrown a pitch 91 miles an hour in the last 3 innings.
1-1 to Andrew Jones. He's grounded out and popped out. Fastball. Big rip off the mask of Eusebio. Foul ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Eduardo Perez is on deck.
It's really been a gutty performance for the Astros starter, Shane Reynolds, here this afternoon. That last fastball, though, just 86 miles an hour.
Bullpen activity for the Astros, meanwhile. So Durker is seeing what you're seeing, Rick. And Doug Henry, the veteran right-hander, started to warm up in the bullpen. 1 ball, 2 strike count. Oh, man, where was that? It's not so much that he didn't call it a strike, is it the batter didn't swing? How could he not swing at that pitch?
You're used to working with a hitter, all right? He's going to say it was low. I mean, that's what Joe would tell you. I'm a pitcher. I got to have that pitch if I'm Shane Reynolds.
Well, Maddux has had his moments with Mike Winters today. And Shane Reynolds. Now, Reynolds did not shout in, because obviously that was not the right approach with Mike Winters from Greg Maddux. 2-2 the count. And back to the bag at first is Jordan.
Andrew Jones is not a guy you're normally going to hit and run with. He, from time to time, will have trouble putting the ball in play. Bobby Cox knows that, and he takes as much pressure as he possibly can off his young outfielder. Just let him go up there and hit.
2-1. The Astros are leading. Nobody out. Jordan back to the bag again. Well, what about just them sending Jordan on a steal?
I wouldn't do that in this situation right here. What I'd do is keep Brian Jordan there at first base, let Jones try to put up a 2-spot with a home run. If not, then with the next guy, I'd send Jordan. You can hit and run. You can do a lot of things with Perez.
That is pulled foul. 2-2. Got out in front of the pitch, and he hung up there, but he was way out in front.
Another thing that happens when you send a runner from first base, a lot of left-handed hitters don't see the runner go. But most right-handed hitters will see movement over in that direction, and that might be a problem for Andrew Jones. Seeing somebody take off there, he might pull off a pitch, and with 2 strikes, you can't do that.
2-2. Fly ball to left. Spires near the line. Tagging is Jordan. He bluffs. Spires into Biggio. Jordan hanging on at first base. So Andrew Jones is 0 for 3. 1 away in Atlanta's 6th inning. And Eddie Perez. This is one of those games now that we're in the 6th where both teams could start getting a little edgy because of opportunities lost. I mean, the Astros have the lead, but they know very well that it shouldn't be 2-1. They could well be ahead 4 or 5-1 at this point. The Braves also know they have the 1 run, and they've had chances to get more than that as well. A possible tying run. Jordan at first. He's going. The hit and run is on. Biggio gets back to it. Misses the tag, but has plenty of time to get up and throw out Perez. Well, he took a shot at it, knowing he had a very slow runner going to first base. Biggio did well. He was going over to cover.
Yeah, the only thing that the catcher for the Braves did not do well, Eddie Perez, was wait on that pitch just a little bit longer. He had a huge hole between first and second. See him pull off of that just a little bit with his hips. Look at Bagwell holding him on. You got Biggio covering at second. I mean, you had 85 feet to shoot for. Just play pepper with the right fielder of Houston. You got yourself a base hit. Biggio not able to get to Brian Jordan. In a situation you got to make sure of one. He could have forced the throw possibly to second and Gutierrez there, but with 1 out already, you go ahead and get that sure out at second base. You got the bottom part of the lineup coming up, and you got to figure your pitcher can have success with those guys.
So now Jose Hernandez and Greg Maddux due up next, but Keith Lockhart has come out in the on-deck circle, a left-handed pinch hitter. First base is open. That one is hit well to left field, a liner, but there is Spires. The ball started knuckling on him, but he bends down to grab it. The inning is over, and Jordan is stranded at second base. A liner to left field. It might have been a little more trouble for young Darrell Ward had he still been in there. Postseason is here, and later tonight, the Yankees and the Rangers game 1 from Yankee Stadium. El Duque, Orlando Hernandez versus Aaron Seeley on NBC. And then at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on ESPN, the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks with the big unit, Randy Johnson. And tomorrow, 3 more games. Game 2, the Astros and the Braves here from Turner Field, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on ESPN. Then the Red Sox with Pedro Martinez against Bartolo Colon at the Jake on Fox at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. And then game 2 of the Mets and the Diamondbacks from Bank One Ballpark, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Now here is the 26-year-old left-hander Trevor Miller to face Howard Battle. That's ball 1. Lockhart, the lefty, had come out, was announced as a pinch hitter for Maddux. At that point, Durker took Shane Reynolds, who had thrown 90 pitches on 3 days of rest, out of the ball game in favor of Trevor Miller. Now Battle is a right-handed hitter, as you can see, and he'll be followed by 2 right-handers here. So that whole exercise ended up costing the Braves a pretty good left-handed pinch hitter, Lockhart. But the Braves still get the percentage, the right-hander against the left-hander. Shane Reynolds, 6 innings, departing with a 2-1 lead. Good pitch at the knees. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Battle.
I totally agree with what Larry Durker did right there. He saw the same thing that we have the last couple of innings. His starting pitcher was just simply running out of gas. What he did by sending Shane Reynolds out there just to warm up was eliminate probably the best pinch hitter off the Braves bench in Keith Lockhart.
Biggio at second. Got kind of a tough hop there at the last. 1 away. Battle is gone. Battle had 3 pinch hits for the Braves down the stretch and was one of the, I thought, kind of surprises of their postseason roster makeup. He was kept, and for instance, Randall Simon, who'd been with them most of the year, was not. But they liked Battle as a pinch hitter. He had some success in that role, so that's why they kept him.
I was surprised too, and I asked Don Baylor about that, about Battle in particular. Well, when his eyes lit up, I knew right away there were a lot of things about Battle that Baylor and the Braves really did like.
Durker's coming out. You got the 2 right-handers, Williams and Boone, coming up, and he's got Doug Henry in his bullpen. So Henry has been summoned. Miller was called in just for the 1 man, and his job is done. We'll be back. 5-year-old veteran Doug Henry on the pitch. A guy who seemed to align himself with great talent here with the Astros in his 2nd year, and the likes of Biggio and Bagwell. Before that, he was with the Giants along with Barry Bonds, and of course he went to college with Barry Bonds at Arizona State.
That's probably the reason Larry Durker's going to him right here, that playoff experience that he has gained the last couple of years.
He was in the postseason with the Giants in '97 after their division championship with the Astros last year. Now here he is this year again. Gerald Williams, and a slider is in there for a strike. Henry has had success the few times he's faced Williams and Boone, who's on deck. Williams is 0 for 3 against him. Boone 1 for 6. They're in the 7th. It is 2-1. The Astros leading the Braves. Brett Boone on deck. Slider off the outside. He got a good one. And can still reach back and find that little extra pop on the fastball when he needs it.
It's guys like this that kept Gerald Williams from being an everyday player. He was solid defensively. He could hit left-handers, but it was that hard right-handed breaking ball that put the title of platoon on him.
Ooh, look at that. And that is a tough slider. 1-2.
It's put a lot worse titles than platoon on people. This breaking ball right here.
One ball, 2 strikes. Williams is 2 for 3, and he's driven in the Braves' only run today with a single to center. Fastball. Oh, man. That one was
just a bit outside.
Was it?
Well, that was in Mike Winter's opinion. And as we know, he's the only one that counts, but that has been a tight strike zone all afternoon.
I ask again, how can the batter not swing at that pitch? And he swung at that one, which was up out of the strike zone and bounced it foul. 2-2.
Pitchers amaze me sometimes, John. I mean, you throw a breaking ball that a guy has absolutely no chance on, and it's almost like you try to find something that he can put in play. The last 2 pitches, Henry's gone with the heater. The guy looks that bad on a pitch.
In other words, he's decided to outsmart him.
He might be outsmarting himself. Another breaking ball just off the plate.
There it is. He reached for it. Hit hard. Gutierrez, nice pickup. Going to have to hurry. Just in time. Ends up being a beautiful play by Ricky Gutierrez. That's a big time of the game to be making a play like that with the big hitters coming up in a one-run game.
Well, all of a sudden now the visibility at home plate's getting a little bit better. You get a hitter to swing like that, that's your goal as a pitcher. He just kind of threw the head of the bat at the ball, made good contact with it, hustling down the line as all the Atlanta Braves have always done since Bobby Cox put on that manager's uniform.
Now Brett Boone, 2 down, nobody on, and a fastball is off the outside and low. 1 ball, no strikes. Shane Reynolds went 6 innings, allowed 1 run, 7 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Trevor Miller faced 1 hitter, retired it. Now Henry. Fastball to beauty. Called a strike toward the outside. The Braves bullpen is busy. Mike Remlinger, the veteran lefty who is just a huge figure in their bullpen this year. And there is Cabrera in the Astros bullpen. Jose Cabrera, and a swing and a miss. Strike 2, 1-2 to Boone, who is 1 for 3 today. Did a double play ball, grounded out to Bagwell, made a nice grab of a tough hop, and then he had an infield single off of Shane Reynolds back in the 5th inning. That helped create a big threat for the Braves that got them nothing ultimately. Down and away, 2-2. Went out. They talk about a guy's spot in the order in front of a big slugger that maybe he'd see more pitches to hit. Well, next up is Chipper Jones, who hit 45 home runs this year. So we may test that theory right now. 2-2. That's a foul off the third base side. He changed up on him there.
I think what really hurt the average of Brett Boone this year, he just hit 252, was the fact that the Braves really never had a legitimate leadoff hitter all year. You put a guy leading off for the Braves that has speed, a Tony Womack type guy, I think you'll see a lot more power, a lot better average out of Brett Boone. But they tried Otis Nixon in that position. He just didn't have anything left. And to me, that's the reason that Boone has really struggled. He sees a lot more breaking balls now than he would if somebody was on base that had some speed.
2-2. Slider. Caminetti. And that is the inning. So Durker's first trip to the bullpen works out beautifully. 3 up, 3 down. Caminetti coming up, 8th inning. New pitcher coming. 2-1 Houston. Now the Claritin game summary. We're heading into the 8th inning in Atlanta. The shadows have engulfed the field, but nothing really has been decided yet. The Astros with a slight advantage. 2 runs, 10 hits. The Atlanta 1 run, 7 hits. Reynolds 6 tough innings. I mean, he really came through for them big time in game 1. Only 1 run allowed. Darrell Ward, the rookie, with a homer against Maddux in the 6th to put the Astros ahead. And Greg Maddux, 10 hits, 4 walks, 14 base runners allowed, but only 2 runs. Maddux kept his club very much in this game. And now the veteran lefty, Mike Remlinger, on to pitch. And he's had just a great year for Atlanta, helping solidify this bullpen. First pitch, swinging. Caminetti, base hit to left field. Caminetti is on base for the 3rd time in this game. But part of the frustration, of course, for Houston, the one time Caminetti has not reached base was with the bases loaded in the 5th and 1 out, and he hit an inning-ending double play. And that was a sequence where Maddux got ahead of him 2-0. Maddux was screaming at the umpire about the second pitch. Looked like it was a good one for a strike. Then Caminetti helped him out, swinging at a ball that definitely was out of the zone. Then took a pitch that was right in there and finally hit the double play ball. Here is Barker showing bunt, taking low for ball 1.
Mike Remlinger's got to be thinking in his mind, I don't ever want to be a starting pitcher again. 98 with Cincinnati, 164 innings, 28 starts, 8 wins. This year, in half that many innings, just 83, 73 appearances for Atlanta, he won 10 ball games.
Barker, a very fast runner. Remlinger with Boone covering, and they just did get it. So Barker gets the job done. Caminetti moves over to second base as the Astros try and somehow get home a very, very big run.
Parker brought in for defensive purposes. They don't want him swinging the bat right here. Get the ball down, get the runner in the scoring position. If you can beat it out, fine. If not, get your glove ready to go in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Eusebio has already driven in a run in a spot like this with a big base hit. Takes a strike. Nice pitch right on the outside at the knees.
There's been a lot of guys that have come to the Atlanta Braves pitching staff and benefited from watching Maddux, Glavine, and Smoltz. I think Remlinger just took a page out of Tom Glavine's book. He has declared ownership on that outside corner to right-handed hitters.
Too low on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, who has shepherded these Braves pitchers through this decade of the 90s, this great decade of success for Atlanta. They have been the team of the decade without any question. John Smoltz, one of those, has blossomed during this decade. 1-2 now to Eusebio. The Braves in the decade of the 90s. Remember 1990. That's the year that we're counting as the first year of the decade. They had a bad year. They were not a good ball club. But Atlanta has won 74 more games in this decade than any other team in the majors. As good as the Yankees have been the last 3 years, Atlanta has won 74 more games over the decade. Atlanta's average year during the decade, nearly 93 wins a year, the average. The Yankees second for the decade of the 90s, averaging 85 wins per year.
Well, the Braves made a couple of changes back in 1992, though. Bobby Cox put the uniform back on, and they brought in a gentleman by the name of John Schuerholz, who really hasn't done a whole lot wrong since he joined the Braves organization.
Eusebio into center. Andrew Jones into a little patch of sunlight there in the midst of the shadows. So Eusebio unable to bring Caminetti home. 2 down.
Schuerholz had to make some unpopular decisions when he first got here. It was Dale Murphy that had to move on, one of the most popular Braves ever, to the Philadelphia Phillies to make room for Dave Justice. And then it was Dave Justice that had to move on to make room for Andrew Jones. That move not only because of Jones' defensive abilities, but also to save financial situations so that they could sign back Maddux and Glavine and Smoltz.
Ricky Gutierrez, big hitter. Trying to make this still a 1-run game. Keep it a 1-run game is Mike Remlinger. He's got the big hitters coming up in the last of this inning. Chipper Jones, Ryan Klesko, Brian Jordan. The numbers 3, 4, 5 hitters. That's low and outside. Now keep in mind, other than their closer Billy Wagner, who's left-handed, the Astros have already used their only other left-handed reliever, Trevor Miller. And they've got Doug Henry in the game right now. The bullpen has started to work for the Astros, but not with a left-handed. A swing and a miss. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
In the past, having a left-hander in the bullpen against Atlanta was so important because of Chipper Jones. Not so much important this year, but it is with Ryan Klesko. Klesko just hitting 100 against left-handers. Billy Wagner's the only one left, though.
Off the outside. 2-2 to Gutierrez. So there is one school of thought that right now Billy Wagner, because of the importance of this first game, could be brought in for the 8th and 9th innings to try and sneak out of here with a win in game 1. Strike 3 called on the inside corner. So the Astros put their 15th base runner of the day on, and again leave him on. They are ahead 2-1, and Chipper Jones, Klesko, and Jordan are coming up. The Astros 2 runs, 11 hits, 9 left on base. The Braves 1 run, 7 hits. We go to the last of the 8th inning, and the tension begins to build here at Turner Field. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Division play began in 1995. That was the year they went to 3 divisions, added a wild card into the postseason mix. The Braves are in the postseason once again under that format. In the first 4 years of division play, the Braves had a record of 12 wins and 1 losses in these first-round series games. They've only lost 1 time in a divisional series game. Now they will give their best shot to Doug Henry. Chipper Jones, the hitter. First ball swinging right to Biggio. One away. And you might be asking, wow, how could Larry Dierker leave a right-hander, Doug Henry, in there against Chipper Jones with only a one-run lead? Well, the only thing I can figure, Rick, maybe you have a different take on it. Henry has had a history of success the few times he's faced Chipper Jones.
And he's not odd with this situation. We talked about him having some postseason experience in the past, and that was the position Larry Dierker was in. He had to pitch to Chipper Jones in that situation. We didn't know who he was going to use to pitch to Chipper with.
The veteran Henry now to Klesko, another dangerous lefty, and a pop-up. Foul. Eusebio back to the screen. If the umpire will get out of his way, he'll catch it, and he did. Well, Mike Winters looked like a guy heading for the goal line. So Klesko is gone on one pitch. This is incredible. These guys never face a right-hander in this spot.
All of a sudden now they come out swinging at the first pitch. Mike Winters just didn't know where to go right there.
And Winters was faking left, going right.
You know, Eusebio's not a little guy. He's a big boy. He needs some room back there.
Now Brian Jordan. Incredibly, Doug Henry, the right-hander, against the switch-hitting Chipper Jones, who has been strong right-handed this year, but historically always better as a lefty. And then Klesko, who is just in there because of what he can do to right-handers. And Henry retired them both on one pitch each. That's too low. Getting back to Billy Wagner, you might be saying, well, where's Billy Wagner? Well, he's had some elbow problems late in the season. And Larry Dierker told us, Rick, before the game, that they try to pull back a little bit with Wagner. They like to use him just for the ninth inning. 2 down, nobody on. And it is 3-0 to Brian Jordan, another dangerous hitter, but a right-handed hitter. Andrew Jones on deck.
I think they're a little bit more concerned about that elbow of Billy Wagner than they let on as well. They certainly don't want the Braves knowing that he's not at 100%, because that means he probably won't throw many breaking balls.
That's just right. I mean, Billy Wagner has been as strong as any closer has ever been this year. I mean, his numbers are, I mean, they're hard to fathom. 39 saves, a 1.57 ERA, and in 74 2/3 innings, only 35 hits allowed. The batting average against him is 130. Right center field, racing over Everett. He's there. Hit hard by Jordan, but Carl Everett caught up to it. And Doug Henry has been the man of the day for the Astros so far, retiring 5 in a row. Game 1 of this 1999 National League Division Series. It's opening day for the Major League Baseball playoffs. The first game has been quite a tense one. 2-1. The Astros lead into the 9th inning. Don't forget now, after the ball game, stay tuned. Sports Center with Bob Lee, Robin Roberts, and Mike Greenberg. With Bagwell and Chipper and the Braves and the Astros in Game 1. They'll have a review of them. Piazza against the big unit in Phoenix tonight coming up. They'll have a look ahead. So stay tuned. Sports Center coming up after the ball game. The Braves are trailing 2-1. The Astros come up now in the 9th inning. And Matt Miesky is going to pinch hit for Doug Henry. What a job by Henry, who retired Williams and Boone to win the 7th, and then got Chipper Jones, Ryan Klesko, and Brian Jordan. Not so much as a walk or a bloop single or anything. But now the baby-faced assassin, the devastating closer of the Astros, Billy Wagner, has begun to warm up. Miesky hitting for Henry. 1 ball, 1 strike.
There's no question Billy Wagner is the most feared closer in all of baseball. There might be guys with more saves, there might be guys with better percentages, but he is the guy that's toughest to put the bat on the ball with.
Off the outside with a changeup from Remlinger. 2 balls, 1 strike. Craig Biggio on deck. And then Bill Spires due up 3rd in the inning. 2 runs, 11 hits. The Astros trying to squeak out a win today. On a day that has been the height of frustration for them offensively. 15 base runners, only 2 runs. Man, that's tough. They've had a suicide squeeze that went awry. Nothing. Greg Maddux made a nice play on a little tapper by Shane Reynolds with runners at first and third in the fourth to get out of it. Bases loaded, 1 out in the fifth. A double play by Caminetti. In the sixth inning, they got 4 hits, including a home run, out of 5 batters. But Shane Reynolds was thrown out in an ill-advised attempt to go to third to end that inning. Everything the Astros have done offensively today has gone wrong, it seems, except the rookie Darrell Ward in the starting lineup in this big game. Because of his bat, he hit a home run in the sixth, and that is the difference in the game right now. 3-2 to Mieske. He got a changeup and just did get a piece of it. Here's Darrell Ward alongside his hitting guru, Tommy McCraw. Big Mac, who had his own battle with prostate cancer earlier this year, back at the ball club. And he says in good health. The Astros are very glad to have him back. That's another one of the obstacles they had to overcome this year. 3-2 the count. He takes it. So Mieske gets a leadoff walk in the ninth, and now Biggio comes up. We're talking about the things that have gone awry in the second inning. Bases loaded, 1 out, and they pitched out, did the Braves, on the suicide squeeze, and Caminetti ended up hung out, tagged out by Chipper Jones. Then bases loaded, 5th inning. Caminetti, the ground ball into an inning-ending double play. Bobby Cox had walked Carl Everett intentionally to set that up. Then Reynolds, with 2 down, took off the third, and then instead of watching his coach, as Rick Sutcliffe pointed out, he suddenly looked over his shoulder, slowed up a bit, and was out at third. 1 for 9 also. Had bats with men in scoring position for the Astros. So anyway, you look at it, everything has gone wrong, and yet they have a lead today. Shane Reynolds came up big time for them on short rest after finishing the season in his own slump. 6 innings, 1 run allowed, and then Doug Henry, the veteran out of the bullpen, with just a sensational job. I mean, he just wiped out the first 5 hitters in the Braves batting order in the 7th and 8th innings.
For Houston to come in and win this ball game and there not be any run scored by Craig Biggio, no RBIs for Jeff Bagwell, and them come out with a win in game 1, that's going to be a tremendous amount of momentum for them going into not only tomorrow's ball game, but knowing they're going back home to Houston with a chance to win this series.
Biggio showing bunt. The pitcher's high and away. He pulled the bat back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Biggio did get a single finally against Maddux in the 6th inning. He is 1 for 4 today.
See, for me, that's one thing right there that works even when it doesn't work. Just attempt to bunt like that with what Biggio did. Now the infield has to respect that. Chipper Jones has got to come in. The second baseman, the first baseman, they got to be aware of that. They're going to shorten up, and possibly a ground ball will find a hole to get through with.
Back to the bag at first is Mieske.
Even if you're not serious about laying down that bunch, which I don't think Biggio was right there, it's going to create some opportunities for you to get a base hit when you do swing the bat.
The left-handed batting, Billy Spires on deck. Bagwell in the hole. Nobody out. Swinging away, hitting a foul off the right field line into the upper reaches of the lower deck. 1 ball, 2 strikes now to Biggio.
I like the approach of Craig Biggio here this afternoon as well. He's trying to take everything to the opposite field here in game 1. What that'll do to the Braves pitching staff, they'll say, all right, he's trying to go that way. We're going to adjust and try to pound him hard in. Well, a couple things can happen. He can take it off that elbow guard he's got, or he can turn on it and hit it out of the ballpark.
He shows bunt and takes strike 3 call to the outside corner. So often turns out wrong for Biggio here in October.
Well, we've talked about his intensity and how, he gets keyed up for ball games even when, the game's already been determined. 8th inning, 10-1, 12-0. It doesn't matter. He is always in the game right there. I think just a little bit too much thought process. Before you got 2 strikes, yeah, go ahead and lay down that bunt, try to beat it out. With 2 strikes right there, he saw the infield move back. He thought he could pick up a base hit. He just simply forgot to lay down the bunt.
So Biggio now 1 for 5, and Bill Spires, the left-handed hitter, has been called back, and a veteran, a switch hitter, Stan Javier, is going to go up now and pinch hit against Remlinger. Like Remlinger, Javier, a former San Francisco Giant, in fact He was traded by the Giants to Houston before the trading deadline this year. The Astros kept having outfielders go down with injury. Richard Hidalgo, who was a guy out there for them, and before that, Moises Alou, who's missed the whole season. So Javier has been a great pickup for them. He's hit .328 as an Astro. And he said before the game, he said, man, you can't believe the kind of pitches you see when you hit in front of Jeff Bagwell. Now, Remlinger did not give in to him with that fastball, and he just did catch the outside. It is 0-1. Bagwell is on deck. Mieske at first, 1 out in the 9th inning.
I always thought for a hitter that was the best position in baseball, hitting second for the Houston Astros. You got Biggio in front of you, who scored 628 runs the last 5 years, and an MVP candidate every year in Bagwell behind you.
1 ball, 1 strike. Yeah, Derek Bell the last couple of years really benefited from that. In fact, anytime Larry Dierker moved him out of that second spot, Derek took a trip to the manager's office. Said, Skip, what are you thinking? Put me up there 5th and 4th and whatnot.
This just shows you how much his stock has slipped right here.
Bell not being used in this spot against a lefty. Javier takes 2 low, 2-1. Stan Javier, another guy who grew up around the game. His father, Julian Javier, an outstanding second baseman back in the 60s with some great St. Louis Cardinals teams on what at that time in the National League was probably the best infield in the game. Ken Boyer, Gal Maxwell, Julian Javier, and Bill White. 2-1. Javier bloops one to shallow right. That is in there. Base hit. Mieske on his way to third as Jordan has to throw back towards second. And that is vintage Stan Javier hitting right there.
Also vintage Matt Mieske pinch hitting right there, finding a way to get on. And the reason both of those guys were acquired this year by the Houston Astros. They knew they might needed some firepower late in the ball game. They thought these two guys might be able to do that. And they have provided a chance to score some more runs here in the top of the 9th inning.
Now Jeff Bagwell. And this is the first time today that Bagwell has come up there with the bases set the way they are. And look at that, with a runner at first base. Bobby Cox walking Jeff Bagwell intentionally. Something you rarely see. In fact, the last time I remember something like this was in that World Series with Atlanta. Bobby Cox walked somebody with a runner already at first base. In that memorable game with the Yankees and Braves, I think it was Steve Avery on the mound in the 10th inning. The game, the Yanks were down 6-0. They came back to eventually win it. Wade Boggs eventually got the bases loaded walk to win that game.
That's what you call R-E-S-P-E-C-T right there. A little bit of respect. Not only Atlanta showing Jeff Bagwell that, but that's what the Houston Astros have done to Chipper Jones all day today.
Now he has walked a guy here to get to Everett, who historically was always weak as a right-handed hitter until this year, just like Chipper Jones. His game from the right side has improved greatly, and he also has had just a great year. Everett with 108 RBIs this year. He only played 123 games. Now, having said all of that, we have to point out every move Bobby Cox has made today has been the right one. 3 men on, 1 man out. The infield double play depth up the middle, pulled in at the corners. Oh man, Remlinger blew the fastball right by Everett. The Astros are ahead 2-1 despite having 12 hits, despite having put 18 men on base.
And for me, the reason Remlinger is still in the ball game, he's kind of been the good luck charm for Bobby Cox this year. The record of 10-1. He's on an 8-game winning streak. Bobby Cox hoping that good luck holds up.
That fastball punched in the air down the right field line, back in amongst the spectators. Ryan Jordan gave chase. 1 ball, 2 strikes. On deck, another switch hitter, Ken Caminetti. Sports Center will be on right after the ball game. The Astros trying to pull away from the Braves in the 9th inning. 1-2 the count. And he had him swinging that high fastball out of the zone. Everett managed to fight it off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Harry Durkee with one of his lieutenants, Matt Galante, in the foreground. Man, this is tense in both dugouts, isn't it? I mean, it's such a critical game for both clubs in a 5-game series. Here it comes. He popped it into center. Tagging at third is Mieske. Jones has got a great arm. Here comes Mieske. Here's the throw. It's offline, and he scores. Backing up the play at the backstop, Remlinger. And it is 3-1. Well, if Andrew Jones had put it right on the plate, they had a shot at it. But it was up the line. The Astros finally get another run home.
Well, it just shows you how strong that Everett is. Look at him right there lunging for that off-speed pitch down in the zone, yet he's still able to get it far enough where the third base coach, Mike Covage, is going to send a runner. And you're right, with an accurate throw right here from Andrew Jones, he's going to be out at home plate. The ball gets away from him. It tails down the line. Perez doing everything he can to get back to the tag, but it's just not enough for that bad throw.
Caminetti, that's one is hit deep. Left center field, way back there. It is gone. A 3-run homer for Caminetti. And that's the one the Astros have been looking for all day long. In fact, it was probably almost inevitable. The Braves fortunate to still be in this game after the Astros had had one threat after another, inning after inning. And finally, in the 9th inning, that great release for the Astros, Ken Caminetti, who finished the year with such a great run, launches a 3-run homer. And look at that. The huge underdog leading 6-1. And the owner of the Astros, Drayton McClain, he didn't want to sit down. That's my club, you know. These guys are my guys.
You know, and what he's so excited about, too, is the fact that Bagwell and Biggio told him, get Caminetti over here. Caminetti wants to play. He'll play for less. He wants to play at home. We don't care about the regular season. If he's healthy in the postseason, we'll be a better ball club.
Glenn Barker, the hitter, ruled to have swung at that. It is 0-2. A 4-run 9th inning. And Caminetti, for most of this 1999 regular season, he was just a name on the disabled list. He missed half the year. Nice pickup by Remlinger, who throws him out. But the good fortune ran out for the Braves here in the 9th inning. Bobby Cox finally had a move that didn't work. And Ken Caminetti with a crushing 3-run homer. And now Billy Wagner with a 5-run lead as we go to the last of the night. Ken Caminetti, 3 years ago, he was the National League's most valuable player. And in the division series that year with the San Diego Padres, he hit 3 home runs in only 10 at-bats against the St. Louis Cardinals. Caminetti, whose career seemed to be in decline since that great '96 season, nonetheless has come back strong down the stretch for the Astros this year. And now he got the big blow, the big fly, to break this one open and make Billy Wagner's job almost seem superfluous here in the 9th inning. Stan Javier staying in after his clutch pinch hit helped set up the big inning. He's in left field, and now Billy Wagner, who has just had an unbelievable season, on to face Andrew Jones.
John, I asked Caminetti the difference between the San Diego Padres team last year, which lost in the World Series, and this Houston Astro team this year. He said, for me, the problem with San Diego last year in the postseason, particularly the World Series, he said, I didn't perform. Caminetti was just 2 for 14 in that series. No home runs, only 1 RBI. So, I mean, you got to be honest. I mean, he won't admit it, but he just wasn't healthy. He's healthy right now. He said, that's the difference. He says, I plan on performing for the Astros this year.
Oh, man. The high hard one, and Andrew Jones went up after it. You don't have much time to decide against Billy Wagner. 2 strikes the count. Now, Wagner has had a little problem with his elbow and has not been throwing much but the fastball lately. Andrew Jones should have quit bat even getting the bat on that ball, but Gutierrez throws him out, and there is 1 away. I mean, the numbers on Billy Wagner just astounding. 74 and 2/3 innings, only 35 hits. I mean, think of that. Less than 1 hit allowed every other inning. Also in 74 and 2/3 innings, 124 strikeouts. Now, last night with the Mets, we saw Armando Benitez in the bullpen late in that game. His numbers are very similar. to Billy Wagner. But he was the setup man for John Franco for half the year before he moved into the closer role.
This guy's got to be the toughest pitcher in baseball to play defense for. I mean, you just want to fall asleep, don't you?
Right. Stand there and watch Billy Wagner strike him out. 0-2 the count. Well, last October, we touched on it earlier, the pictures were very sad. The former MVP Caminetti swinging, missing, grimacing, and often falling to the ground in such pain with a groin injury that plagued him in the postseason last year. He's healthy now. The Astros, as he sat out much of the season with the injury, that went into the corner and the foul. A valiant chase given by Carl Everett out there. 0-2 the count to Eddie Perez. And so perhaps the injury and the long spell getting well for Caminetti paying off right now.
Well, for me, the only person that could have kept Caminetti on the disabled list as long as he stayed on it was the first baseman for the Astros, Bagwell. Caminetti respects Bagwell more than anybody in the game, and Bagwell said, take your time.
Off the fists, foul by Perez. 0-2.
Cammy's one of those guys that he just doesn't listen to hardly anybody. He won't listen to trainers. He played through a lot of injuries the last couple of years, and the reason he's always hurt is the way he plays the game. I mean, he's constantly diving. I mean, he runs into walls on pop-ups down the line, always trying to make that, Sports Center play, and a lot of times coming up with it. Because of that, the body just started giving out on him.
There's a slider from Wagner. Still 0-2. Now, game one, the Braves heavily favored. They waltzed in the final week, just getting themselves tuned up. They did put a big hurt to the Mets again last week, playing those games as if it meant something to them personally, hurting the Mets deeply. But now it is the Astros who are 2 outs away from really putting the heat on the Braves. The Braves only guaranteed one more home game tomorrow, which would become a must win. I mean, they will have to win tomorrow, but they're up against a 21-game winner tomorrow, and laying in wait for them at the Astrodome Friday, a 22-game winner who will be fully rested. No short rest for Mike Hampton. He'll have his full 4 days off in the first game in Houston on Friday. 1-2 the count. So, I mean, this series may well have taken a dramatic and stunning turn today from the Braves looking like a real strong favorite to win this one, to now the Astros perhaps being if not in control of the series, certainly suddenly perhaps the favorite. 2-2. And also remember, the Braves have not been in a situation like this ever before in a division series. 12 wins, 1 loss in 4 previous division series. They almost had treated divisional series play as a tune-up for the big show.
Well, they didn't plan on losing this game. The only loss they had back in '95 was to the Colorado Rockies, and the manager of that team was Don Baylor.
2-2. And a pop-up. Shallow right. Carl Everett. Out number 2. Shane Reynolds, really, I mean, there's so many things you could talk about as being keys for the Astros today, but in all of that frustration early on, all of those runners and failed opportunities offensively, Shane Reynolds made it work out because he gave them 6 very strong innings.
And how he did it was by sticking with the game plan. Do not let Chipper Jones beat you. And by not pitching to Chipper Jones, all of a sudden not having Javi Lopez, not having Galarraga, it just jumps right out at you now when you look at that Atlanta Braves offense, or lack of it.
And the plan, stay away from Chipper Jones. That's what Reynolds did, and it worked out beautifully. Here's Jose Hernandez. He's 1 for 3. He's scored Atlanta's only run. That foul goes off to our right into the press box. 0-2 the count. Tomorrow, game 2, 4 o'clock. Jose Lima, 21-10, and the Braves will go with the guy that most feel has been their best pitcher all year, Kevin Millwood, 18-7. But what a spot for Millwood to be put in. A must-win in the postseason, something he's never had to face before. 0-2. And the slider got him swinging. It's a 3-up, 3-down, 9th inning. The Braves never got a man on base after Jordan's leadoff single in the 6th. Reynolds, and then Miller, Henry, and Wagner retire each of the last 12 Braves in order. And the Houston Astros, for their 3rd straight year, into the party, but for the first time, suddenly the Astros flexing their muscles and showing that they might have what it takes to advance beyond the mighty Braves. We'll see.